Good evening. Welcome to the July 6, 2016 Combined Board Meeting for the Vineland Board of Education. Roll call, please, Ms. Haley.
Ms. Acosta?
Present.
Mr. Boardley?
Present.
Ms. Codispoti?
Present.
Mr. Jennings?
Present.
Mr. Pagano? Ms. Rios?
Present.
Mr. Sabrana?
Present.
Mr. DeWinney?
Here.
Mr. English?
Here. In compliance with the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law, commonly referred to as the Sunshine Law, the Vineland Board of Education has caused notice and posting of this meeting to be sent to the following, announcing time and place thereof, agenda, etc. The Daily Journal, the Press of the Atlantic City, the Grapevine, the Clerk for the City of Vineland, and the Administrative Office Public Bulletin Board. At this time, please rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I would ask that we pause for a moment of silence in honor of Charlene Zorb, who was our New Jersey School Board representative. She passed away suddenly with cancer, and she will be deeply missed by all of us on this board and in the district. Thank you. Mrs. Haley, we have a resolution for executive session this evening.
Yes. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the City of Vineland School District will convene into executive session on Wednesday, July 6, 2016, for the following reasons as outlined in NJSA 10-4-12. Discussion of labor negotiations with VASA, non-certificated supervisors, school psychologists, and UAW, and any matters falling within the attorney-client privilege to the extent that confidentiality is required in order for the attorney to exercise his ethical duties as a lawyer.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Boardley?
Yes.
Ms. Codispoti?
Yes.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
Ms. Rios?
Yes.
Mr. Sabrana?
Yes.
Mr. DeWinney?
Yes.
Mr. English?
Yes. At this time, Dr. Grucci, do we have special presentations?
We do. We have a few this evening. First, I would like to call forward Mrs. Jane Eisenhower and Mrs. Christine Nolan from the South Jersey Land and Water Trust, and they're going to be speaking this evening about the donation of a piece of land to the Vineland Public Schools.
Yeah.
Could we, I apologize, but could we ask you if you'd be kind enough to speak from the mic so that it can get picked up on? Thank you.
It's much easier. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Can everyone hear me now? Is this working?
It's fine.
Yes? Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, again, I'm Janet Eisenhower. I'm president of the board for the South Jersey Land and Water Trust. We are a private nonprofit land conservation organization. Our role is to protect and preserve the environment, the habitat, natural habitat of the region, southern New Jersey. We are a combination of two organizations, the South Jersey Land Trust we formed in 1990, and the Federation of Gloucester County Watersheds, which formed, I believe, in 91. Yeah. At any rate, I'm here tonight because of this property. We were contacted, and you all did receive a handout. We were contacted by a gentleman, in the late summer, early fall of 2015, who was the then fee owner of this piece of land. This is approximately 48 acres, and it's located directly across the street from the high school, Vineland High School. Gentleman who owned this was interested in donating it. He initially contacted the Natural Lands Trust. You'll notice on the aerial at the bottom, this map or this aerial was printed out under Natural Lands Trust logo because that's a partner organization that we work closely with in the region. So we sat down with the landowner and came up with a plan. As a nonprofit, we do take ownership of land, and when we do so, it's restricted in terms of, being protected from development, from any significant harm to the habitat. So we were willing to consider taking ownership of this, but it also seemed like it would be a wonderful property to donate to the Board of Education for educational purposes as well as environmental protection. So we did take ownership before the end of the year. That was one of the requirements that the landowner needed from us, was to be able to transfer the property during that tax year. We were able to do that, and then I understand he initially did, I believe, contacted, or maybe Natural Lands Trust contacted the Vineland Board of Ed, but it was much too short notice to be able to accomplish that transition in, a matter of a few months before the end of 2015, and we all understood that. That was not an issue. So we were able to take ownership of the property, and early in 2016, of course, we sat down with your committee and started to discuss what the possibilities might be of having this property become part of Vineland Board of Education property. So, and of course, it can't just be used for just the purpose of conservation. It obviously is a very significant property for the purposes of education, and also it has qualities that would make it very valuable for cross-country trails, for walking trails, for wildlife and natural sciences, education. So that's where we are with this. We've had a few meetings with the committee, and I think the committee and the Land Trust Board have come to an agreement that we think this is a wonderful opportunity for both entities. As you can see, and I'm sorry, you know what? I left out a very important use of the property, and that's agricultural education. Forgive me. So as you can see, property has actually four lots. This is a very narrow lot that doesn't really show well down here, but there is a fourth parcel. The thought was to consider developing a cross-country trail, and I think that your athletics department was thinking in terms of using the perimeter of the property to wrap a trail around. And also, in terms of education for agriculture, we were looking at this component, or this part of the property, because this is an area that was previously disturbed. And our primary goal is to not significantly impact the habitat. It's actually an interesting property because most properties that have been left standing without development in New Jersey or in many areas of our country have had impacts from what we call invasive species. So in other words, when you go into the property and you look at the habitat, there are impacts that have affected the ability for native species to thrive. One of the big impacts that causes that is deer browsing. When you have a large population of deer, they tend to eat down a lot of the native species, and then you have openings where a lot of invasive species can take over. This property is interesting because it actually doesn't have a lot of that impact. It's a really good property for environmental education, to teach students about what our native vegetation is and how we've been protected. So at any rate, this area we were thinking about with your committee for an agriculture project. And the thought was I must say that we talked this over with the property owner, who was very adamant about this property being protected. So the gentleman that donated this property is still someone that we feel that we represent. So we did discuss it. We felt that that section, since it's already been somewhat disturbed, would be a good area for agriculture. We did talk about the possibility of some sort of an agricultural classroom. Typically, we do not allow any type of development or placement of any buildings on properties that we preserve. That's standard. But in this instance, the need for a classroom outweighs that. So we were talking about the possibility of a trailer, some sort of a trailer classroom. So it wouldn't be a permanent structure. That would be the reasoning behind using a trailer as opposed to building a permanent building. We also talked about hoop houses, which are basically greenhouses that are plastic covered greenhouses. So again, those are, lost our picture, but that's okay. Did I do that somehow? Okay. Those would not be permanent greenhouse buildings. So in other words, they would have a dirt floor, they would have a plastic cover, so in that way they can be removed if necessary. And that enables students to have additional educational experience with how the agricultural community actually uses that type of hoop house as opposed to permanent structures. So those were basically, and then of course there may be at some point actual agricultural field, plantings. That sounded like that was down the road, but that would be up to your educational planning. So that's where we are with it. I've given all of you a very brief, straightforward description of what a deed of conservation restriction requires, or the purpose. So on the next page after your aerial photo, basically it states the property will be retained forever, predominantly in a natural, scenic, and open state. Property will be used only for passive recreation, education, and conservation purposes. Is that my phone? I'm sorry. I thought I turned it off, excuse me. We would not be able to have or allow the property to be subdivided. Any use of the property that would significantly impair, I'm sorry. I'm trying to read my own thinking here. So it would ensure, I'm sorry, that any use of the property that might interfere or impair the conservation value would be prevented. Then we get to permitted activities. Again, what we just discussed, the trail system for hiking, jogging, running, nature appreciation, science-based studies, agricultural education, woodland management activities to manage for invasive plant species. Some selective harvesting of wood products would be allowable, and passive recreation in general. We would not be allowing any hunting on the property, so I think that's something that everyone would have to agree with. And then the last page basically just goes through the prohibited activities, and they're pretty self-explanatory. Again, anything that's going to significantly impact the natural condition of the property, other than what we've already discussed, would be the educational and athletic purposes. So I think at this point I'd just like to answer any questions. I'm not sure if I'm covering everything that we need to cover tonight. I think that the purpose tonight was to kind of just give the full board an overview of what we've been working on and where we are with those discussions.
I thank you, Ms. Eisenhower, for coming out tonight. And pretty much board members, the committee has been looking at this since, I guess, early December of 2015, and the timing was pretty tight for us to make any type of decision on that. So we've had some more committee discussion between January and now, and the committee, it's a committee of 4, so the committee, it's a board of 9, so, we want to make sure that everyone's on board with this. But one thing that I wanted just to make sure, as our budget gets tight year after year, we have this piece of property now that has a lot of stipulations attached to it. I think you answered this for me last time, but I just wanted to let it be read into the record. We have this property, and we no longer can afford to keep it, say maintenance, say insurance, et cetera. The program we thought we would have for agriculture, the teacher got cut or something to that effect. What is the process for us to no longer have this property on our lap?
Right, right.
Do we give it back to you with all the stipulations, or are you going to say, listen, you're giving it to us, but you still have to maintain it, you have to take care, you understand what I'm saying?
I understand the question, yeah. So when a property is preserved under these circumstances, obviously the Vineland Board of Education would be taking ownership in fee of the property. So it would be the same as any property that you would own in fee. And if at any juncture you felt the need to no longer own that property, then you would have the option to sell it or to donate it to another entity. The continued involvement for the South Jersey Land and Water Trust is that we would basically own the conservation easement. There would be a recorded deed of easement attached to the recorded deed in the county that would stipulate all of the restrictions that we agree to when the property, if the property is transferred. In terms of the land trust being willing to take back the property, that would be something that there's no way that we can predict this could happen in 20 years. And it would be impossible for me at this time to say we'll definitely agree to take fee ownership of the property again after we've transferred the property and fee to the Board of Education. Certainly it's something that could be considered.
Okay.
I'm not, there's nothing that would indicate that we would not, but it's not something that we could agree to, I don't believe.
And this evening, Ms. Haley, we are voting on,
It's item 3.1. Item 3.1 reads approval regarding a resolution authorizing accepting a land donation from South Jersey Land and Water Trust. One thing I wanted to add, you had mentioned something about liability insurance.
yes.
And back in May, we had checked with George Castellini, our insurance broker, and he said there is no additional premium for liability protection of the vacant land. If buildings and other structures are erected, they will charge based on what the size of them, but it should be a very low amount. So we're covered liability-wise based on our number of students.
Okay. And then throughout this process, we had our athletic director, Mr. Robbins, involved in the process. Mr. Fry was involved with the agriculture piece to it, and I actually had a chance to walk the property with Mr. Fry and Mr. Weaver, and I think it's a nice piece of property for what we're looking to do in the future. I think it would be a good investment for us, but I am one of 9, so I mean it's something that we have to, think about and make that decision tonight with a vote. But Dr. McCann was aware of it now as well, correct? So
I think he was the initial point of contact.
okay, perfect.
Mr. President, should we have Donnie come and tell some of his ideas and what he's proposed?
Does anybody have any questions on that? It's
I would like for them to come up to the mic and explain to the public what their plans are.
sure.
I have a question for Ms. Eisenhower before she leaves. Thank you for coming out. You've had the property since December, you say, or at the end of last year?
That's correct.
I understand there's some tents or some possible homeless folks that live out in the woods there. Have you had any issues since ownership to now with anybody or any situations like that?
We haven't had any problems that were brought to our attention.
Okay, thank you.
What would you like to do now?
Um,
Would you like?
I guess, Mr. Robbins, you can come and explain the athletic side of it.
Don Robbins, the athletic director of Vine High School. I also supervise health and phys ed for the district, as well as the nurses for the district. We had talked about when this property came up, we had talked about several things. One is that the AMSA program will be moving to the high school for next year, so we talked about expanding, always trying to expand our physical education program, possibly as the committee mentioned, putting in a walking trail, jogging trail type of thing, a habit trail. Ms. Moore, who's actually here tonight, is actually always pushing me to add to our adventure ed curriculum that we have in the 910 building, and that will be something we would look forward to. We've explored looking into grants for getting mountain bikes and helmets and types of protection to add mountain biking to our physical education curriculum. We have a track on campus which is not under the trees, it's not pine needles. I mean, it's a terrific facility. But it would give the phys ed department another option. The other thing from an athletic standpoint, right now if we want to go for long runs, I mean, basically every day we have activities going on, so it's hard for us to do a long fence line run inside the facility. So typically what we do, I'm sure everybody here have seen our student athletes running to Acme and back and crossing several cross streets. In this situation, we did meet with a person from the city one time and talked about the fact that the students would just have to cross one time from Vineland High School South directly across the street in order to get into the trail. So they're just some of the things that we talked about, expanding physical education. The other thing I left out was orienteering. We wanted to try to expand the physical education curriculum, possibly tied to our adventure ed curriculum, to add orienteering to that as part of our physical education curriculum, which would also be cross-curricular because there's so many components of orienteering. So,
What do you call it? I'm sorry.
orienteering. You get a compass, you go walk in the woods, and I give you two numbers, and you got to go find the ribbon.
That's it. You got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Anybody? No? Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I've been lost forever.
Gave you numbers 2 years ago.
Mr. Fry, would you take the agriculture side of it, please?
Hello, everyone. Nathan Fry, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction. There are two incredible opportunities with this piece of property and from a curriculum standpoint. The first is environmental studies. We've been very active over the years with the Land Trust, and as specifically Stephen Eisenhower has been very gracious to help us with all of our environmental needs. We take trips out to the Pinelands, we take trips out to the environment, do studies across the board. With this across the street from us, with the natural terrain and natural habitat, it's an incredible opportunity for our environmental studies classes. And the agricultural education department. It's part of our strategic plan. Our long-term goal is to develop our agriculture program into a leading force in our curriculum. This gives us an opportunity of about 5 acres with hoop houses from kind of soup to nuts to be able to plant, grow, distribute the entire package for our agriculture education department. So we're, curricular-wise, we are very excited about the piece of property. Any questions?
Good idea, Chris, by the way. Thank you for recommending them coming up. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions for anyone while they're here?
There is one cost to the board. That's the about $1,500 for the phase
Oh.
environmental.
That's it.
That's it.
It's not South Jersey Land and Water Trust. It's to Natural Lands Trust. But the
That's a
environmental, yeah,
one-time cost.
one-time $1,500.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the property was clear as far as environmental concerns.
Very good. Very good. All right, any other questions or comments on this? All righty then.
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
I would just like to thank our administrators and Donnie for their excitement in this also. They're really ready and willing to help us move forward with some of the things that we've been wanting to do, and I appreciate their excitement as well.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Eisenhower, Mrs. Nolan, for your presentation.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, our next presentation, we have Lindsay Tish and Miriam Jamal from our high school, and they are going to be speaking about the 2016-17 senior class trip.
Hello. Thank you for having us here tonight. We're here to seek permission for a senior class trip for the class of 2017 to Orlando, Florida. Specifically, we would like the seniors to go to Walt Disney World and Universal Studios. We believe this would be beneficial for the senior class educationally, as well as helping to increase the class's sense of unity and morale, while celebrating their achievements soon to come. This would be our first time running our school's senior trip and class trip, and we will run it the same as advisors before to ensure the same success. For the research portion, we've had extensive and thorough research completed in order to write this proposal. We spoke at length with Mrs. Christine Lewis, who has been the lead for at least 2 senior trips. We also consulted Mrs. Kimberly Rivera over here, who had just successfully led the class's 2016's senior trip. Based on Ms. Lewis's research from 3 other districts that conducted this same trip, namely Millville Senior High School, Cherry Hill East High School, and Washington Township High School, which we brought in because they were larger districts as we are. All 3 schools have a comparable student population and as far as numbers, and Millville also has a comparable socioeconomic population as well. Each district has been conducting this trip for over 15 years, so we felt confident in their abilities to direct and advise us. We have also had extensive contact and advice from Bruce Bevan, the senior class trip representative from World Class Vacations. World Class Vacations is the travel agency used by almost all of the high schools in the area for their seniors class trip to Orlando. They have specialized in these trips for numbers of years and have provided invaluable advice as to how to set up and run this planning and the process. He is the same travel agent the previous classes have used and was invaluable in helping to be a success. Research was also completed in discussions with our own staff members as well. Mrs. Tina Morris, assistant principal, has been our primary source of information regarding regulations, discipline on the trip, eligibility, and we spoke to Joanne Downey, our student assistance counselor, and Karen Hunt, our school nurse, to ensure we were within the school's regulations in regards to students who may need medical attention. Lastly, we used Bill McDevitt, our music teacher and band director, as a resource from the financial end. We had previously sent to you all of our information. We do have additional folders if anyone would like one at this time. But we had parent meetings and presented all of the necessary information to them the second week the second week in June. And we have also secured a price point for our trip as well. At this point, I'll just take any questions you may have.
Did you find a way to bring your favorite board member yet, or along, or no? Just checking.
You're all my favorites.
Yes. Can we have a copy? Yeah, just so we all have it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Rossi, we handled the whole nursing thing now too. With the nurse being on the trip, we have that under control now?
We deal with it.
We deal with it, gotcha. All righty. Does anyone have any questions or comments from the board? All right. Well, looks good.
Thank you very much for your coming out and for presenting the trip.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
It's going to go on the August agenda. Okay, our next presenter is Mr. Salerno, and he is going to be talking about the new purchasing manual.
button back here to turn up? Button that controls the mics. They sound like.
Good evening. Keith Sterno, Executive Director of Purchasing. Tonight, with the renewal...
Excuse me one second. Can we, these mics don't seem to be as loud as they usually are, because I can't hear a thing. Speak into that microphone. Unless I'm getting old. You turn up the mics?
Okay. Try it again. Keith Sterno, Executive Director of Purchasing. Tonight, with the renewal of our purchasing manual, I'd like to show you some of the hard work we've been up to since February 1st.
That's better.
Can you hear it
Oh
better?
yeah, that's better.
A lot better? All right.
Oh yeah.
A little too loud?
Testing, 1, 2, testing, that's good.
Okay, we'll start with warehouse and operations. We've added barcoding. Items now are barcoded when they arrive and leave the warehouse. They are listed on School Dude and Inventory Direct module, which allows all the ordering and items to be ordered directly from the schools, and they can the senior custodians have access to this, and they can order any items that we place on Inventory Direct directly from the warehouse. And as these inventories run low, alerts are sent to us for restocking purposes, and it also allows us to see what items are ordered a lot, what to stock, so we don't waste valuable space in the warehouse. Recycling, now all chemical, AV equipment, batteries, HVAC equipment, damaged furniture is responsibly recycled. It's well organized when it's received. So basically it's offloaded from the trucks to a bin, and it's only handled once, and then the bin is taken for recycling. Gov deals, unused, damaged, or antiquated items are sold for money. East Vineland schools, Veteran Memorial School garages, Cunningham School have all been inspected for usable furniture and supplies, been put back into the district inventory for use. This is the portable scanning cart that we've made. We can move this around the warehouse and add the scanning bars to each item. So we hope to have everything barcoded at this point. We're pretty close to that. These are now our shelves. Everything is well organized, as you can see. We know exact counts of all our items. You can see the scanning bars down the bottom. So now when we run low on an item, we get that alert sent to us, and we know how to order and prioritize our time.
I see that's a plumbing item there. You're trying to tap the resource a little there.
No, there was none of that. We also reorganized the entire warehouse, and now we have all student chairs, desks, file cabinets. They're all kept in specific areas. So this way, when principals or staff come through the warehouse, they can easily pick out the items that they want, and then we will deliver those to the schools. This is our recycling bins. As you can see, these are bins we added. Now maintenance will come back. They will deposit their old batteries, Freon cans, right into the recycling bins. So we basically don't handle them. The bins are forklift onto a truck and brought for recycling. So things aren't handled 2 and 3 times and moved around the warehouse. This is a little picture of our yard that we've reorganized, and we're starting to, we're going to have designated areas for recycling. These are also areas we thought that we could bulk buy things of stone and maybe sand and materials of that nature if there are certain projects that maintenance may have. Library books are now organized in groups of 50 or larger and sold on Gov deals. you know, when I came in February, we were basically building a library in the warehouse. All the old books were just there. Even the old TVs and technology was just sitting in place. You know, we needed to move it, otherwise we wouldn't have had any. We were losing all our valuable space to these types of things. Textbooks, these books, if they can't be sold and they're less than 10 years old, they are listed on the state sharing website for 120 days in accordance to 18A 34.3. Rentals, we've purchased some tables and chairs, so we now have enough chairs and tables to basically we would save money so that the schools don't have to rent these any longer. So if they have events, we can supply all the tables and chairs moving forward, and we can save money by not renting these items. The purchasing piece, boilerplates. Since February 1st, we developed RFP, bid, competitive contracting, which today we're asking to move forward with our first competitive contract. Public works and goods and services. Bids since February 1st. We have bid 12 contracts. We're working on our 13th. Sirius, I've heard you loud and clear. Bid, and that's what we're doing. Tonight, you're going to award a bid for something as simple as trash bags. Well, we were able to save the district $22,000 by going out to bid for this product. Chapter 271, political contribution letters have been sent out all to vendors exceeding 17,500 threshold. We are now compliant in this area. Got to really give Denise Ferris some credit on that. She was very helpful. Travels and meals. We've taken a look at how we're using public funds to purchase food and travel. We've revised the policies, updated them, and created a manual for the district employees. Purchase order, when we have nothing to do, we process 10,500 purchase orders yearly. Training. Mandatory training has already been provided. It covers purchasing procedures and requisitions and purchase order process, the entire process. So we had that in 2 split sessions. So to bring everybody up to speed on the new expectations and how we're going to move forward with the procurement process. Website, we are, it's still a little under construction, but we've added a website on the home page. You can take a look at that. There's a lot of valuable information that we're going to be placing there. Some's already there. We have links, the purchasing manual, and state website links to purchase under state contract. Copy paper, as of July 1st, the warehouse, we're going to utilize that to bring in all the copy paper so that the valuable storage space in the schools isn't taken up, and we can track that and how that's used. Again, that's going to go through Inventory Direct. That'll be placed on Inventory Direct. The schools can order directly from us, and then it'll come out with their order. We usually visit the schools weekly. By doing this, we save the district $12,000. This is our website. As you can see, we've added the purchasing manual, procedures, policies, technical guide for preparing an RFP. We updated and worked with Sedesco to update these smart snacks for behavior modifications. So that is now up to date. Links, we have some links there for, like I said, state contracts. And we'll continue to build this as it goes on. This is new. On the horizon. This one's for you, Mr. English. We're going to do meet and greets with the local vendors. We're going to visit the local vendors and explain the purchasing process. This will begin early August, and we hope to have an annual vendor fair every October. We've already been in contact with Robert Scarpa from the city, and we are going to start with downtown area and start bringing in some of those vendors and see if we can do business with them. Office supplies, we've already started this. Standardizing office supplies, all the ordering process will go through the purchasing department. It will be reviewed. Overpriced supplies will be substituted with the lowest price items, and items that aren't fiscally responsible removed from the list altogether. So it was short and sweet, but those are the footings in which our foundation will be built. So all we ask is for your patience, guidance in this time of change.
No, thank you, Mr. Salerno. The good thing is, purchasing agent, to me, we've been banging it for 6 years since I've been on the board, and no one was hearing us, and to see something happening is a good thing. And sometimes it takes the right person, and I'm glad to see that we're moving in the right direction. Something as simple as barcoding, we asked and we asked and we asked, and it was always an issue, but it appears that it's being done. So I don't see what the heck happened in 5 years, you know what I mean? I'm glad to see that we're moving, and we're getting our money's worth. That's what it's all about. So does anybody else have any questions or comments? Keep working.
Thank you very much. Okay, and Mr. Frangipani is our last presentation. He is going to be doing the HIB presentation.
2 minutes? 2 minutes. I'm dry, man.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm John Frangipani, the Assistant Superintendent for Administration. You've heard this presentation quite a few times, so I'm going to try to be brief, but again, if you have any questions, please stop me at any time. I want to go through the definition and why we're doing this, but there are a few next steps that are coming that I really want to talk about towards the end of the presentation. Okay, this is something we're required to do twice a year. I'm going to go over the definition, the number of HIB incidents, give you some data, and some HIB documentation. This is the report that we do from February to July. Again, it's required. By now, most of you have heard the definition of a HIB through the course of the school year, but it's basically based on a characteristic of any individual. They're listed here: race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, and so on. At the last board meeting, I handed out attached to the HIB numbers, there was a report that we got from school boards about a student who was identified as a vegetarian, and it came back as a sustained HIB. I gave you that right up. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but a student who was a vegetarian is, again, it's a characteristic, and that would be, and a student who made a comment about his lifestyle was given a sustained HIB from the school. So it's pretty vast in what happens. These HIB incidents could have to basically substantially disrupt the school or that student's learning or the operation of the school, cause physical or emotional harm, be insulting or demeaning, or create a hostile educational environment. Our HIB specialists are normally our counselors and social workers, so they've worked with this over and over, and again, it's always a learning process. Again, here are some of the characteristics of any academically gifted children, students who wear glasses, hair color, children living in a non-traditional family, overweight or obese children, small or physically weak children, children considered unattractive, unfashionable, socioeconomic status, poor athletic ability, academic stereotypes, new students in town. Any number of things can be defined as a characteristic, and it's something that we're always looking at, which makes working with the HIB so challenging at times. This was a case that was in 2013, South Plainfield, and I just wanted to go over it with you. A teacher was charged with a HIB harassing a student. The student was sent to the office for violation of the dress code. The student was accused of cheating on a test by the teacher. The investigation was done, and it was found not to be a HIB. The board determined that it would be overturned unless it was unfair, arbitrary, capricious, or unreasonable. The conduct was not based on any actual or perceived distinguishing characteristics. And it was supported by the commissioner. Just some of the cases that come up. There's a number of cases that come up through the course of the year, and this year we've had experience to go through this. But you can see other districts are also, hear the same types of challenges that we also come across. Here are the numbers from February to July. We've had 32 substantiated. There was a total of 72 reported in our elementary, middle, and high school. 29 in the elementary, 27 in the middle, high school 16 for a total of 72. Out of that, 32 were substantiated and 40 were not. Here's the data for just the elementary schools, again 29, and you can see the numbers for each school going down the list. I don't want to read it to you, but you get an idea how the numbers are. Our elementaries have lower numbers than our middle school and our high school. High school and middle school, there were 43 totally reported, 16 substantiated, 27 unsubstantiated. Vineland High School South had 5, the North had 11, Landis, Rossi had 9 each, and Veterans Memorial had 5, and Wallace had 4, just to give you an idea. Year-to-year comparison, just to give you an idea how we're doing year to year, you can see the number has gone up of substantiated HIBs this year, or last year, I should say, with 43. The year before, we had 23, and 37 before that. So the numbers are kind of all over right now. As more data comes in, we'll get a better sense of how we're doing. But the number of HIB reports is about the same. The first year, 121, then 80, and now 97. So as we go through it, the cases that, we don't have a lot of data, but we have 3 years worth of data now to look at. And this is really what I wanted to talk about tonight. Some things we're going to do next year, going into this September. One is we're going to improve our documentation investigation. We're going to an online reporting system. I did some research and went to a conference and talked to a few companies that do this kind of work. So we won't have all the paper that we're generating. Everything will be online, and it'll be supported through an organization or an online system called Hipster, which we're pretty excited about. The training will start in the fall for all the HIB specialists, and that should make a big difference, because not only will it provide streamlining the process, but it'll save us time. It'll also give documentation. For instance, when you put in a HIB case, it'll give you the statistics across New Jersey of how many times this type of case was substantiated and how many times it wasn't substantiated. So it'll give our specialists more information. It'll give the board more information. We're going to also look at our school safety teams and provide them with additional training. The school safety team is responsible for the climate of the school and prevention of HIBs. But they haven't been trained over the course of the year, or a couple of years now. They haven't gotten any real training of putting together safety plans. So we're going to work on providing them with training so they can understand what they need to do better to improve the climate in their schools. And again, provide support for our guidance counselors, social workers, who actually wear another hat as the HIB specialist. And finally, we're going to be working on a school safety grant. This year, Mary and I have been working closely with Rowan University. And Rowan has taken the time to work with us to apply for a school safety grant through the Department of Justice. This is a 4-year grant. It's a research-based grant. I have a copy of the application here. It's, I'll just pass it down. You could take a look at it. I didn't want to make copies for everyone. But this grant is very substantial. It's a 4-year grant, and it's $4.9 million over 4 years if we're awarded the grant. That'll bring in partnerships for us from Robin's Nest. We'll also provide mental health for our students, and it'll also bring a partnership with a group called Supportive Schools. They're out of Princeton. They will then provide counseling and team building for our students. They will provide mentoring, peer mentoring for our high school students. For our 12th grade students would mentor our 9th grade students, and in the middle schools, our 8th grade students would mentor our 6th grade students. They will provide the training, and they will do the research. The Bridgeton School has already signed on to be a partner as a control school. Millville has agreed to. We're waiting for their letter. So we've been working with them, with Rowan on this grant for a better part of 3 months now. And we submitted to the Department of Justice. We're hoping to hear by the end of the month on this, at the end of September, I'm sorry, to get this grant. And if we do, it would be a significant change in our school climate. So that's what we're hoping for right now. Any questions?
Any questions or comments? We're all professional HIB specialists here, so. did
Thank you,
good.
Mr.
Thank you.
Frangiapane.
Are there any board questions on any of the HIB stuff that was handed out this evening? Seeing none, do we have an approval for, a motion for the approval of minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Can I have a roll call, please? Thank you.
Ms. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Boardley?
Yes.
Ms. Codispoti?
Yes to the June 8th regular meeting and recommendations, and I have to abstain from the June 1st work session and executive session.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
Ms. Rios?
Yes.
Mr. Sabrana?
Yes.
Mr. Dewaney?
Yes.
Mr. English?
Yes. Do we have a report from our board solicitor this evening?
None for public session.
All right, at this time, do we have any public comment on agenda items?
Yes, I'll read off the names in alphabetical order.
Just to go over the process, please limit your comments to 5 minutes and state your name as you come to the podium, please.
Brian Buglio?
Good evening. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Brian Buglio, and I'm currently on tonight's docket to be transferred out of my position of health and phys ed teacher at Wallace Middle School. I only have one concern that I would like to address in the form of a single question. Why move me? Yesterday, I had the opportunity to sit down with Mr. Robbins, my direct supervisor, to discuss the recommendation of my transfer, and I thank him for his time. He gave me some much-needed insight on what was needed to be done to secure my fellow colleagues' positions within the district. However, the same question was asked. Why move me? I also had the opportunity to discuss the recommendation with Dr. Russo, Mr. Fry, and Dr. Guccio yesterday afternoon, and I thank them for their time as well. I described my immediate situation with a simple analogy. As a phys ed department, we consist of 4 pieces of a puzzle. The pieces are molded and they fit together very well. We lost one of those pieces to retirement as of July 1st of this year. So now our puzzle is only missing 1 piece. With my recommendation of a transfer, that now splits the puzzle in half. What I can't wrap my head around is why move me? I consider myself to be a team player. However, isn't it logical to mold 1 piece into a 4-piece puzzle rather than 2 pieces? With this transfer, the 1 vacant puzzle piece was replaced with 2, creating a divide that doesn't need to exist. In addition, the recommended transfer is back to the same building that I asked to be transferred from because I felt I had maximized my personal and professional growth. So I ask again, why move me? We have a diverse and unique group of students at Wallace Middle School. Most of them base their success off the trust that they have developed throughout the years with their teachers. 2/3 of the student population at Wallace have built a strong bond and relationship with our phys ed department. I feel that I would be letting my current students down if I did not ask on their behalf, why move me? I stand here not as a disgruntled employee, but as a member of a Wallace family of students, parents, and faculty. I am asking for the recommendation of my transfer to be strongly reconsidered. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jamie Burgos.
Hola, damas y caballeros, mi nombre es Jaime Burgos. Y yo estoy aquí para decirle que una gran injusticia está pasando hoy. Yo he trabajado como un maestro de 25 años aquí en Bailen. Y por razones que no puedo entender, ahora voy a estar transformado. So at this time, if Ms. Rios or Mr. Costa would like to translate, I'll let you have it. If not, I'll be more than happy to.
You should explain.
Okay. My name is Jamie Burgos, and I'm here to tell you that a big injustice is happening today. For no reason that I could understand or comprehend, after 25 years of service, I'm being asked to be transferred. I am highly qualified in my position. I am the expert in driver's education at Vineland High School North. All of my colleagues, a lot of them are here today, will tell you they come to me when they have questions for driver's ed. I am qualified in water safety instruction. I'm certified in lifeguarding. Two certifications that are highly needed at the North Building. And on top of all of that, I'm the only Hispanic speaking and English and Hispanic reading and writing individual in the whole department, in the whole wing. And everyone comes to me when they need something translated, communicated, helped with. You have any idea how many times I'm back to school night? Jamie, can you help me? Why? Because according to, let's make sure we get the stats right because I know numbers are so important. NeighborhoodScout.com says that we have 25.6% white students in Vineland High School, 18.7% black students in Vineland High School, 2.1 Asian, 52.6 Hispanic. Chacho, 52.6. Now, I've been told, well, the transfers are being done because of, coaching reasons. I need coaches up here. My athletic director was kind enough to sit with me and talk to me on a couple occasions because I still to this day can't wrap my head around it. When I met with the principals involved, when I say principals, I'm talking about superintendents and personnel directors also. One didn't even know I was Hispanic. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But my students know I'm Hispanic. My parents know I'm Hispanic. The people at my school know I'm Hispanic, and I've done a damn good job. It makes no sense to say, you know what, let's move this guy over because I need him to help with the coaching aspect. We got to watch out for, let's see, what are they going to affect? Between 6 to 100 kids a season, I affect 150 to 225 students every single day. Mr. Borley will tell you. Mr. Delaney's niece will tell you. Mr. English's daughter will tell you. Mrs. Gruccio's daughter will tell you. And guess what? I never called any one of them to tell them, hey guys, my name's up for transfer. I didn't call you at your homes. I didn't bother you. I didn't call your cell phones. I could ask you right now in front of everyone. I don't play that game. But there's a lot of people here who do. A lot of people here who do. And I'm telling you right now, you need to send a message to these people who are playing their little games in the back doors because they want their friends to be up there at the high school surrounding them. And who cares? We'll kick out the other guy. He's got 25 years. Maybe he'll even retire. So send a message and tell them, leave the highly qualified teachers alone. I have a 3.75 on your Tomlinson scale. Look at my observations. I do my lesson plans. I put my grades in. We have non-tenured football coaches. I'll tell you right now, they're not teaching. Whew, yeah, I get fired up. Thank you for your time. Excuse my emotions, but that's what it gets down to it. And don't forget, they still tell me over and over again, Jamie, it's not personal. Yes, it is personal.
Thank you, Mr. Burgos. Just so you know, for the people that don't come to the meeting on a regular basis, we listen, but we cannot exchange in dialogue, so this is where we hear what you have to say, okay? Thank you.
Renee Carfagno.
Standing before you to speak, I'm in angst at what is continuing to occur in this district. I am a well-vetted veteran employee who has been with the district since 1998, and I would like answers as to why I am being involuntarily transferred. I have a pristine record, both professionally and through observations. I provide the utmost care and attention to everyone's issues with respect to employer rights. I am sincere. I care about the educational opportunity of every teenager that I am responsible for throughout the school year. I have no idea why certain staff and administrators were able to choose where they wanted to be transferred, but I am being involuntarily transferred. This will be very straightforward, partially from the heart, and will include part of my story behind my involuntary transfer. I am certain that if anyone here were to speak directly to students, parents, supervisors, and majority of the staff at Wallace or in the district, they will find that I am an exemplary teacher with the utmost passion for my subject and for the material I teach. Perhaps the vote tonight should keep me in my current position as an 8th grade civics teacher, a position I am highly qualified to teach, and not be transferred to any other school, be that elementary or middle. To provide some insight about who I am, I have a Bachelor of Arts degree in Poli-Sci. I worked for the Environmental Protection Agency for 4 years. I took the New Jersey Praxis and I got my general education degree. That's cert that people say that I'm qualified to teach K through 8. I have never taught any other grades besides 7th and 8th grade for 18 years with the district. In the past 12 years, I've taught only civics. I've been the advisor for NJHS for over 16 years, a position that I will no longer be able to do in a new school. I've been a cooperating teacher to 3 separate student teachers, 2 of which are employed by the district. I've been a mentor teacher to 4 mentee teachers. All 4 of them are employed in the district. I've been a host to over 25 practicum students from both Rowan and Stockton. I've been on the curriculum revision committee for 8th grade every single year that it's been worked on since I started 18 years ago. And Ross Stanger as my supervisor currently. I've also worked with Ed Connect and put the benchmarks in that everybody in the district uses for 7th and 8th grade. I'm trained as a docent for the JCC. I went on to further my education to get my master's in Holocaust and Genocide Studies, which I am almost at the final standing in. I'm an Alfred Lerner Distinguished Fellow for Holocaust Education, one that only 500 people in the entire country get. I'm currently writing 2 memoirs for Holocaust survivors. I'm the senior VEA rep in the building and the sole representative for over 30 meetings this year alone in Wallace Middle School. I've had outstanding observations with no blemishes in my file. I feel that this transfer is due to my role as the senior VEA rep at Wallace. I have no progressive discipline issues. I have followed through on all legal responsibilities, both on my end and as a VEA representative, and as a highly qualified teacher in the state of New Jersey. I've touched countless students' lives for over 19 years. So I would ask you all, were the principals told to cut 2 positions? Were the principals told to cut 2 positions, including 1 social studies? Were the principals told to cut a civics position? Or were the principals told to cut Renee Carfagno? Why was I chosen to be the person eliminated after everything I do for the students, the staff, and the school, and this district? I feel that all of us here should have the common goal of ensuring that our children are respected, cared for, and educated to the highest degree possible as educators. That they work for themselves, and also that they are respected. Is this message about political struggles that continue to flow into our education system and pollute the message of positive behavior? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carfagna.
Charles Gaudio.
I'm just here, I'm the department chairperson for Health and Physical Education at Vineland High School North. Just here to basically speak on behalf of Jamie Burgos, one of our teachers, as well as Kim Rivera, both slated for transfer out of our building. As Jamie said earlier, he is very highly qualified as one of the people in our department, both in aquatics area as well as driver's education. And Kim Rivera serves those same purposes. For them to be removed from our building, as when the district goes through trying to get qualified people, and extremely qualified people, would be the wrong move. And I'm just asking you to support not transferring those two individuals from our building. Thank you.
Maya Lopez.
Hello, my name is Maya Lopez. Thank you for having me. 1 second, please. Yeah. All right. Okay. Good evening. I hope all is well in the 856. I'd like to thank you in advance for the time I've been given to express my concerns. I am here today to speak on behalf of Ms. Rivera being moved from Vineland High School. Not only will you be losing knowledge of dealing with class events seamlessly, such as our senior class trip, project graduation, even graduation, the list goes on, but I can't stand in front of you and not acknowledge the thoughts that may be going through your head at this moment in time. Something along the lines of, well, there are plenty of teachers that could probably do the same, right? I'm here to tell you that I'd have to disagree. These classes advisors are getting paid to do the bare minimum, have a class dance here, propose a class trip there. Ms. Rivera works her hardest to exceed expectations and does every single time. It shows not only as a class advisor, but as a teacher. I wish I could stand here and list all the things that she has done for students at Vineland High School, but I only have so much time, so I'll focus on the most important points. Removing Ms. Rivera would leave only 2 physical education teachers that are women in the North Building, meaning there will be 8 men left as physical education teachers. Not only is this a horrible ratio, it's a disservice and a threat to security, you know? Coming from the point of view of a woman, just speaking of this makes me feel uncomfortable. In addition to removing a woman from your physical education staff, you are removing the only Hispanic woman from your physical education staff. With this being said, I do not believe that the question of her transfer should exist. This is because I can promise you that with her transfer, you would be losing more than another gym teacher. You would be losing an exceptional young woman who happens to make a difference not only to me, but in every single person who has been privileged enough to even be in her presence. In conclusion, I ask that you please reconsider your decision to transfer Ms. Rivera from Vineland High School. Because with her transfer, not only will you lose a kind soul, you will lose irreplaceable knowledge. You will lose gender and race diversity. You will lose a woman who is devoted to every single thing she puts her mind to. In turn, if Ms. Rivera is transferred, this will contribute to a lesser Vineland. Thank you.
Dawn Meyer.
Hello, I'm Dawn Moyer, one of the female health and phys ed teachers at Vineland High School North. We are coming to you as a department regarding the transfer of Kim Rivera from Vineland High School North phys ed department to an elementary classroom. The transfer would create an unsafe environment for the students and the female phys ed staff. Ms. Rivera is one of only 3 females in the North Phys Ed department. If she were to be transferred, that would leave only 2 females, myself and Mrs. Seacrest. Based on past experience with 3 female phys ed teachers, we have found it difficult to provide proper coverage in the female locker room. Cutting us down to only 2 would create inevitable instances that would leave the locker room completely unsupervised. Just as one example, with only 2 females to cover the locker room, if I am out to lunch and Mrs. Seacrest is teaching in a health room, is on conference, or on duty, the locker room would not have anyone inside to supervise in the beginning and in the end of the period while students are changing their clothes. Please keep in mind that with our class sizes as large as they are, there are some periods that there could be over 60 females in there at one time. It is challenging enough when only 1 teacher is available to regulate things such as cell phone use, photos being taken, bullying situations, fights, and medical emergencies, let alone if there is no adult supervision at all. Ms. Rivera is an asset to this department, not only because she's certified pool instructor and certified driver's ed instructor, but because she is one of only 3 females that make it possible to maintain the integrity of our program, the safety of our students, and the safety of our staff. I understand transfers occur to ensure that someone may not lose their job, but please reconsider Ms. Rivera's transfer and review other possible and better solutions.
Thank you, Ms. Moyer.
Cindy Paterno.
Cindy Paterno, resident of South Main Road in Vineland. After hearing all the educators currently here, it's really upsetting to me to even have to speak tonight. Most of you know my name. I am Cindy Paterno. I live on South Main Road in Vineland. I've been a teacher and retired teacher for Vineland for 36 years. I'm here tonight because I'm concerned for all our students and for some of the moves that appear to be occurring. I'm concerned that the budget cuts, some changes are being made that are not in the best interests of our students. Much of it is said to be through attrition, so I researched the meanings of attrition. Attrition 1, a reduction in the number of employees or participants that occur when people leave because they resign, retire, and are not replaced. The important thing is not replaced. Or 2, the act or process of weakening and gradually defeating an enemy through constant attacks and continued pressure over a long period of time. What bothers me the most is that we have transfers occurring or were occurring that were not for reduction in staff through resignation or retirement, but rather through continued pressure to weaken employees, making an educator's placement so uncomfortable for them that they resign or retire. That's sad. And it's a fact, because it's happened in the past. Having credentials for a position without experience in an area can be extremely detrimental for our students. There is a good reason why educators go through practicum and student teaching prior to entering education. It's to give them a taste of what their selected grade area requires. Administrators should never make moves based on credentials only. There are many educators who will never excel at the high school level because of the academic rigor or the personalities of teenagers trying to independently spread their wings. Likewise, there are many educators who will never excel at the elementary level with extremely short attention spans, inability to follow simple one-step directions, independent thinking. Well, I think you get the picture of what I'm trying to say. Lastly, it takes, in my opinion, a very special educator to teach at the middle school level. The raging hormonal personalities, continuous questioning, and constant I don't cares from our middle school students. I think God must give these teachers some kind of special gift. As administrators, the skills of these professional educators must be carefully considered. Many moves have already been made in the past that have created students losing a year. Many moves have already been made that have created students losing a year of their education and must now catch up. From classroom placements, non-classroom positions like art, music, guidance, PE, instructional aides, please be careful. If what is in place isn't broken, then please, please don't try to fix it. I've witnessed firsthand how devastating moving a high school person to first grade can be totally inappropriate for the educator and the student. Likewise, I witnessed educators and in-class support educators that work extremely well together, separated and transferred to classrooms where the two do not work well together. The next year becomes uncomfortable as the educators are adjusting to each other yet again. As I've stated, if it's not broken, leave it alone. Looking at educators' credentials may satisfy the needs of administration, but not necessarily the best fit for our students. Please, please look at where the educator's career has been most effective. In closing, transfers and placement should not be based on promises made, which should never be made in the first place, or to simply fill a classroom with a body. And especially, please do not make our professional educators a pawn in a political arena or a personal vendetta. Our Vineland students deserve the best we can give them. We have many fine educators who are extremely proud of their careers and love molding our students at all grade levels. Don't move them around without carefully looking at the fit. As professionals, they should be treated with professional courtesy. We have many fine educators who deserve the best we can give them. Thank you all for listening. I care about our Vineland students, as I am sure you do. And just an aside, it upsets me when I hear of a phys ed teacher from a high school for 10 years being moved to an elementary 4th grade classroom. I taught in the 4th grade class. They're worlds apart. They're totally, it's like being in China and the US. They're worlds apart. And to assume that that person will have an effective year by just moving there from high school to there is wrong. It doesn't work that way. And a couple of hours in a resource help session in the summer isn't going to help either. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Paterno.
Kim Scarpa.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kim Scarpa, and I'm a teacher at Vineland High School South. I teach the 9th and 10th grade Cog Mild class, but we are located in the South Building. I've been a high school teacher for 21 years, and I've never taught anything else. I love teaching the Cog Mild 9-10 students at the high school. I taught at Success, and when it closed, asked to be transferred to the high school. And I am being moved because of a parent that became jealous that her children became attached to me. I did nothing wrong but try to help these students become successful. You would think that any parent would be grateful that a teacher has gone above and beyond to help their child become successful. I did for these students what I would do for any of my students. I do what I can to help each and every student in my class be successful. These students were not in the country very long, so they had a lot of issues with their English and reading and writing it, and I even did an extra reading program just for them to try to help them get caught up because they were homeschooled and this was their first year in high school. I want to know how a parent has the power to dictate my career. I feel this is setting a precedent that any disgruntled parent can have a teacher moved. I did nothing wrong, and I feel I am being punished. I do a great job with my class, and all of my observations reflect this. I already met my incoming class and was really excited to work with them. I would like to remain in my current position. I'm sure there are other solutions to this than moving me. It's just not fair. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Scarpa. Thank you, everyone, for speaking.
Excuse me. I had sent a paper up.
Yeah, that's for after, yours is not an agenda item, so we have to have that one at the end.
Substitute is on the agenda.
Substitute approval in what way?
It's on personnel, substitutes.
Is that what it's in reference to?
That's the hiring of substitutes.
Hiring of substitutes?
Yes.
That's what your thing is about? Okay. All right, then that's fine. Vicki Miller, yes.
Yeah, Vicki Miller.
Sorry.
I come to all board meetings. I have nothing written down. On June 15th, I received a letter from the board asking if I was going to come back. This would be my 10th year, 11th year. And I replied, yes. On June 18th, I received a call from Insight that I am no longer employed by the Board of Education. But without any notice, the Insight was going to take us over. I come to all board meetings. I've never seen that on the agenda. It was never voted upon.
It was on June 8th.
I was here.
Don't engage,
I mean, I can go back and, it was on the agenda.
It was on the agenda, but it was never voted on, never spoke about. I was here.
It was, well,
The RFP was on June 8th.
it was, and it was voted on. It was, I can show you, I mean, I can pull up the agenda.
Well, that's something I would have heard.
Okay.
But anyway, they send us to a meeting where Insight tells us nothing. We asked what our wages would be. They had no idea. They told us that if we missed time, we would get points. That's why I'm a sub, to come into work when I'm willing and can. Not to worry if I'm going to have a job because I missed a day. Thought it was very unprofessional that we weren't told ahead of time by the board. I was proud to work for the Board of Education. I just don't understand why we weren't told. I have one more thing I forgot to ask. If we're not employed by the Board of Education, we can run for the board?
Bob DeSanto.
I'm not sure. I'd like to check with Bob. Mr. DeSanto, if,
I'm sorry.
if you're no longer employed by the board as of June 18th, would that be fair to say? Can someone run for the board? Or is there a,
But they would be subbing for us through Insight, is what she's saying. So she would be an Insight employee.
She'd be an inside employee, so she would
Right.
not be a board.
But they'd be working for they'd be subbing.
so the question is,
Yeah.
will you be working for Insight or?
Yes, I'll be working for Insight.
Oh.
I'm not an employee
Insight.
of the Vineland Board of Education.
That's not my call. It's her attorney's call.
My attorney.
I'm not going to give a public opinion on that question.
Okay. We will get back to you with that answer. Thank you, Ms. Miller.
I'm looking, the minutes that were approved tonight on June 8th, we have 4.26. The board approved to award the following proposal for substitute staffing services from July 1st, 2016 to June 30th, 2017, with an option to renew for 1 or 2 year term for a maximum of 3-year term, Insight Workforce Solution, with their address. All members voted yes. 9-0.
Mr. English, employees were notified through ASOP email and through a statement of assurance that a contracted service may be employed.
And that was, do you know when that was? Was that before June 18th?
In about this time frame. Discussions were going on about how best to proceed up through this time frame. And the Insight seminar today did explain wages.
Did explain wages?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you, Dr. Rossi. Thank you,
Excuse
Ms.
me.
Miller. Oh, yes.
They did not explain wages. They said they didn't know what the wages was going to be, that it would have to be voted upon at the next board meeting.
That was yesterday's seminar.
That was yesterday's and today's
Yes,
seminar.
Today's seminar, we had a discussion this morning with Insight and clarified the wages are the same as they are now.
The wages for,
Substitute personnel.
let's not get into a debate. It's just, now, So what you're telling me is, yesterday, no discussion on wages. Today, there's wages that show that they will be comparable to what they make currently in the Vineland Public School District.
When we discovered yesterday there was uncertainty in this area, we clarified that this morning. The wages Insight shall pay to current employees of Insight shall be the same as they earned under Vineland Board of Education.
Okay.
There were substitute rates that were approved a few meetings back, like internal substitute rates. So the way the RFP is written is the people put in a quote, or I guess a bid proposal, for the rates that are determined by the school board with a markup. So the markup that they had done last year and this year is 35%. That's what their markup is. So the board determines the rates that were approved. I want to say maybe in May, we had substitute rates approved. I'd have to go back and check that one. Those are the rates that we're using at this point. They could be revisited and increased, but right now we have to use the rates that were approved by the board.
So currently, the discussion that happened right now had to do with substitutes, but that's not really what was on this agenda. The agenda tonight for substitutes, or we're approving substitutes other than what will be Insight employees.
Correct. In areas we retain employees.
Okay. Mr. DeSanto, can I entertain discussion with the board about this current situation before we move forward with the agenda?
You can make that discussion now if you care to, sure.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions or comments on this as board members?
I have a question. So we will continue to have our regular substitutes, but we're still using that outside company as well?
No.
If it doesn't work out, no?
No, we do not have our substitutes in teaching, classroom aides, and guidance counselors. We shall retain secretarial, security, and transportation.
And was this discussed with the unions?
Custodial was one of them, too.
I'm sorry, was this issue discussed with the unions
The
as we usually
substitutes,
do?
they're not union members.
I'm not saying that they are. I'm saying, usually when we do when we take this route, we usually discuss it with the union. So I'm just asking, was it discussed
I can
or
say
not?
for certain that UAW and I have discussed this situation. I can't remember a VEA. I think Mr. Russo is aware of it, but I won't speak for him.
Okay.
I have a question. What about the nurses, the substitutes? Are they going to be going through Insight, or are they going to?
They are not on the Insight bid. There may be another arrangement there.
Dr. Rossi, can I ask you, what is the advantage of doing this?
We are bearing costs. Most importantly is the Affordable Care Act, which requires benefits for 30 hours or more, which is not a budgeted item, to say the least. There are payroll taxes, there are pension contributions, there's workers' compensation premium costs.
So it's a savings to the district.
Nothing that is going on this evening is ideal, and no one
I
in this
understand.
room wants it, but we are facing drastic cuts.
I understand. Do we have any more questions or comments?
Just one comment.
Yes.
I've been working with administration on this contract, and the contract provides, after the RFP went out, that this was the most advantageous proposal to the district. This is your outside provider for certain substitutes. The board should know that. It's for certain substitutes, as Dr. Rossi indicated. Other substitutes are covered elsewhere. But this contract is for teachers, teachers' aides, and a couple of others. And this is the outside provider that has been awarded the contract to be the outside provider for these services.
So if you are employed by Insight, Dr. Rossi, is there a chance that you would be working in another school district as well, if you were a former Vineland employee?
Yeah, Insight would prefer that Vineland individuals work in Vineland. They cannot limit them. They can express an interest in Millville, like Harbor Township, wherever Insight is, but the desire and the preference is for Millville folks, or Vineland folks, to be here.
Okay. We're trying to get the information here. It's hard to hear both sides, so. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Seeing none, Dr. Gruccio, the floor is yours.
Okay, I would like to recommend discussion and approval of personnel items, retirements, resignations, terminations, leaves of absence, employment, transfers, substitutes, extracurricular activities, and summer hours.
Mr. DeSanto, I just need a clarification here. Because this is the combined meeting, we're going to entertain normal work session discussion. After we discuss, will we be voting then?
Yes. Yes, as to
So-
each item, yes.
So I can do any questions or comments, and then after that, we entertain a motion?
Yes, and of course, board members can still speak as they vote also. Board members can speak during the
Okay.
discussion part as well as during their vote.
At this time, do we have any questions or comments?
Don't we have to make a motion?
Do we make a motion after or before?
No, before.
Before?
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry,
moved.
we're going to do the combined
Doing the
meeting, so
combined,
this is your
yeah,
discussion.
Just discussion,
It's because it's a combined meeting, yes.
so I can do the motion
Do
first?
No, do the discussion
The
first.
discussion
Right,
first.
right.
I'm just trying to get a clarification.
It's so rare that we do this.
Yes. Okay, do we have any questions or comments?
I have comments.
Yes.
As Dr. Rossi said, no one in this room wants what's taking place, but we have an incredible amount of money to make up, and I think what this administration has done is in the best interest of the students, the teachers, and everybody might not think so, but if you were up here and looking at the data and the information, I'm really impressed with what this administration has done and what they've tried to do, and we as a board have put this in their hands to handle, and they're doing the best they can do with what they have. And insurance keeps going up, salaries keep going up. We got to keep up with that. We don't want to lose positions, but we're continually losing positions. Thank God we're trying to retain employees and keep a job for everybody instead of telling you that you're gone. We don't want to tell people we have to fire you, like Atlantic City did a couple years ago, or last year, because they didn't prepare. Vineland has been preparing for this for 5, 6, 7 years. And Atlantic City didn't prepare, and they had to cut jobs overnight. So I think everyone should be happy with what, even though we're being transferred and moved and we don't like it, and I think we should be extremely happy with what's taking place. And I don't like it either. I'd love for everybody to stay where they are. I would love to see everybody happy. Am I over to 5 minutes?
No,
I mean,
I'm listening.
I think everybody here has the same goal. Teach the students and do the best we can. And I just hope that everybody, no matter where they are, continues to strive for that goal. And, you know, sometimes it's not the greatest or the best. And we just got to keep going, and hopefully things turn and come back in your favor if you think something's not in your favor. And I don't know of any master plan here to circumvent anybody's relationships or status, or I haven't heard it. So, I mean, there might be some things behind the scenes, maybe, I don't know. But what I've heard is upfront and honest conversation, and that's what I've heard from this administration. That's all I can tell you, my point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jennings. Dr. Rossi, just a quick question for you. Like the budget, fluid document, the word fluid document, this is a fluid document that is subject to change up until the first day of school.
Made a phone call today to put someone in a better place. As soon as... Does the budget have money for new microphones? We have attrition expected, voluntary reduction throughout the summer often occurs. People get tired of dealing with me and every year having to hear this, so they might leave. In that case, we'll do the best we can to put people where they feel best qualified. It is a fluid situation.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Sure.
I do have a concern based on the comment made by the young lady with respect to the number of high school female
Ms. Moyer, yes.
teachers. I think that's a very valid point.
Mhm.
Mr.
Dr.
Robbins and I discussed that. We have a plan for a female security guard to be present. Failure to move people will result in a layoff in the Health and Physical Education Department. That's the choice we have.
Mr. English, I
Yes.
do have a question.
Yes.
This is another all or nothing vote, right?
Well, if you remember last year, we had someone approach the podium, and the board had asked that the team gets together and work, and if a change can be made, they would do their best to make it happen. And I believe it was Ms. Belvin at the time, and we were able to jostle around as they don't understand they don't want to make these moves. And this is the tough part about being board members here, because 8 people spoke today about some serious things, and we're discussing unsafe environment. Why move me? 52.6% Hispanic. Did you ask to move the 8th grade civics teacher, or did you ask to move the person? I would hope that it's not that way, and I understand that's, and again, this is day-to-day operation stuff, and if indeed it is that bad, I would have hoped it got to our level far before tonight. We have a chain of command that we all follow, and I promote communication, and when you go to the top and you're still not happy with the answer, it is time to come to the board. And tonight you're here at the board, and we're voting tonight, and it's.
All the emails. I know I'm not supposed to speak out, but these are all the emails.
Mr. Burgos.
Go in line before coming to you.
Mr. Burgos, I totally respect what you're saying here, and it's going to be an interesting vote this evening. It's going to be an interesting vote because this school district, we weathered the storm this year, but I'm thinking somewhere in the area of 50 to 100 people losing their job next year in the Vineland Public School District. I've always told everyone how it is. We're going to have a high shortfall, a $10 million shortfall plus. You can't raise taxes enough to make that up, and tough decisions are going to have to be made next year. And the ultimate goal was to keep everyone employed. What I'm looking at is, in your situation, Mr. Burgos, you are the only one that speaks Spanish in your department, and that's troubling to me. That who will assume that? A security guard? Well, I mean, I'm asking the question. I'm not trying to be
Let's not make light
funny.
of a very difficult situation. I know you weren't meaning to do that, but there's a lot of anguish goes into these things. These things aren't just done to ruin people's lives. You passed down to us an $8 million deficit, shortfall, whatever you want to call it. Mrs. Haley's group has worked hard. Our group has worked hard. Central administration. It's very difficult. No one, as I said, likes it. Mr. Robbins and I went over all the people in his department. People will lose jobs if this is not voted upon. That's certainly up to the board.
And I understand that. And I need to understand this better. Are people not certified properly? Why is this happening?
Can I interject that maybe, Dr. Ross, you can come up to the podium? So it's not perceived that it's a shell game and you're just moving people. I'm listening intently to everybody speak and hearing what they have achieved, their successes in education, etc. Can you come up and explain to, at least to me, if not anybody else, that how you come about this, and when you're looking at people as far as their certifications, the language they speak, how that comes into play, please? I know it's not easy.
It's certainly not easy. It is certification-based primarily. However, from a central office point of view, I reach out to academic supervisors. We have an excellent group of academic supervisors who know what's going on in the classrooms. We have excellent principals. I reach out to the principals. We told middle school principals, cut 2 from every building. We told Landis, cut 6th grade. We cut 7 people out of the high school. We cut about 10 people out of preschool. Imagine preschool. Mostly what? P3. To not lose a job, you have to move people in other areas who would ordinarily not be affected. But this is one big district. So people move to accommodate certifications that are being bumped, especially veteran teachers. It is not ideal. It is simply a matter of matching certification. It is very true. It was true last year. High school people with a certification in elementary never step foot in an elementary classroom. But the state of New Jersey tells us they are qualified to do so. It's not ideal. It's not comfortable. It's saving a job. And this was about saving everyone's job based on certification. The female phys ed teacher has a K-8 cert. We had to have it. A female phys ed teacher in Menny's, who's very well regarded. Her principal, everybody else speaks very highly of her. She has a K cert that puts her in a classroom at Menny's so we could have the gym position. Right now, the district is really up against it. Health and phys ed, social studies, math, language arts, up against this wall. There's nowhere to go. So the choice is going to be this passes or people are laid off.
So your goal, once the cuts or the budget's approved, is to try and place everybody so they're gainfully employed.
They're gainfully employed.
And then the ripple effect or tidal wave effect happens, is what you're saying.
Correct.
And you take a look at their certifications and
Certifications, and I talk to principals, we talk to academic supervisors, I certainly meet with our central office team. We have to decide at some point who would be better of two people who don't like elementary or are not comfortable there. Somebody has to go there. Who's it going to be? That's part of the why me situation. It's not easy. It's not always scientific. But last year, as occurred during the summer, some did retire or resign later in the summer, and we were able to make some moves.
So if I have all the certifications and someone doesn't have it, I'm more of a target to move. However, now that we are looking at times to maybe not hire, but there may be chances or opportunities where we're going to need to hire people in the future. Are we looking at people who have more of the certifications so this doesn't happen?
That's the conversation I've had, especially with health and physical education. We cannot continue to hire people in the entire department. 2 people have certification beyond health and physical education. That is handcuffs. It's handcuffs. You can't move. So the people that had to move for the sake of jobs, as I said, no, we didn't want to move that woman out of phys ed in the high school. Donnie Robbins certainly didn't want to do it. I said, Donnie, this is a choice. The person low on the totem pole is going to go. And to me, the best we can do right now under these circumstances is $8 million shortfalls. As Mr. English said, $10 million next year, close a building, whatever you folks, tell us to do, we're going to try and do. And right now, the last couple of years, no one's lost a job.
And there were 57 position cuts that we had to make, and then we tried not to.
I know most of the answers. I'm just trying to get it explained. I'm done. Thank you.
I have one question. Are all the transfers listed here due to reduction in staff? All of them?
There's a combination.
Or there's some that it's not due to reduction in staff, they're just transferring people?
There are a combination of things that must occur to achieve the ultimate goal. It isn't just A to B. As I said, there has to be other impact. For example, bumping a math teacher out of the high school. High school made 7 cuts. That person has a mathematics cert, forget elementary. So now you're talking about middle school. We already asked middle school, make 2 cuts each. Landis, cut 6th grade. So I have to look elsewhere before this person can be placed to move someone else. I wouldn't use the word target that was used, but a multi-certificated person allows other people to save their positions. So it is a combination of things that has to occur. When I said the middle school cut 2 positions, I'm not in that building every day. Dr. Gruccio is not in that building every day. We certainly talk about it, but the principal gives me recommendations. They're very difficult recommendations. They don't want to cut anybody. We don't want to cut anybody. But when that person gets cut, we have to find a place, and that's what we've done successfully for 2 years.
But I don't know, because I see some people here, like, from gym high school to gym middle school, from gym middle school to a gym high school. So I don't...
As was stated,
I don't
to
get
be clear,
that.
in the health and physical education area, there is a coaching component that is important to the supervisor. And I work with the supervisors.
So then
That's the first I've ever heard that.
So then...
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
So
I'm sorry
it's
for-
not because of reduction then?
Oh yeah, I need a clarification on that, because I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Sure.
So, we don't have coaches in elementary and middle school? Sure we do.
Absolutely.
I would defer to Mr. Robbins about specifics. I can tell you this. As part of the movement, when he was told what he had to move, he looked at the big picture of his department. He's the expert of his department. I would defer to him.
The state's telling us to possibly cut sports, and
Sure.
you know.
That's a
so-
possibility.
Wow.
Sports are more important than education right now.
I would hope.
Some people's
Hey,
minds. Now, I'm not saying you are.
I understand, Mr. Burgos. I know. Keep calm over there for me, buddy. The original, just real quick, the original question that started all this was Ms. Codespot. I didn't get a chance to answer her question. Her question was this an all-or-nothing plan? And she was asking that of Dr. Gruccio. So excuse me one second, Damaris. I just wanted to answer her question because we've been...
At this point in time, if we do not approve what's before you tonight, someone will definitely lose a job. However, as I told everybody yesterday that we spoke with, every day things are changing, and it will continue to change through the summer. So we just got retirement yesterday again. So every day something changes. As those things happen and anything opens up, if we could take any of the people that have concerns and juggle things around to make them happy and put them back where they really would like to be, we will do that. And we did that last year. But right now, the way it is saving everybody a job. If we change that, someone will have to lose a job. And the health and phys ed department is the most difficult because all but 2 people have only a phys ed cert. Health and phys ed cert, that's the only cert that they hold. And, I'll let Mr. Robbins address the coaching issue, but that is one of the most difficult departments that Dr. Rossi has had to deal with.
In many ways, Ms. Codespot, it's a house of cards. In this situation, if you pull a card out, you're going to have chaos in other areas.
Hello, Don Robbins, Athletic Director, Phys Ed Supervisor. You guys have any questions?
I just asked.
I want to answer everybody's question. I
I
just
need
want to make sure.
clarification.
Yes.
Is that an unwritten rule? Or
Is what
if
an
you
unwritten rule?
coach a sport, should go to the high school?
No. Here's what I'll first address Brian Bolio, if it's okay. He asked why, and we met Brian a couple times. He came from Barcy School. He was there for 5 years, and he was successful there. As Dr. Rossi mentioned, the population in Landis School dropped tremendously. Was asked to cut 2 phys ed teachers from Landis.
He's at Wallace, correct?
Right now,
He's at Wallace.
Well, I'm
Okay.
just trying to
Okay.
explain
Okay.
what was handed to
All
me
right.
and then how I filled in the blanks.
Okay.
And I met
Okay.
with Jamie and
Okay.
and Brian, and in some cases we filled in the circles together, and we disagreed, but we tried to, I tried to include, maybe I included too much because I think it might have built frustration, especially for Mr. Burgos, that maybe it shouldn't have been, because I was just trying to be open with him, and maybe he was too involved in the process, and plans were changing, and I think it was creating angst. But anyway, I mentioned Landis School. The 2 teachers, one at Menny's was moved from phys ed to K through 5. And the one, Miss Rivera, I don't mean to call you the one. Kim Rivera is teacher of Vine High School North, does a lot of things, and she was asked to go K through 5 certification at Leuchter. So those were the moves that I had. In all, it totals 10. So just to, I'd like to speak to every one of them if I could, just so you're clear. I mean, this is my recommendation. What I was asked to do, it's my recommendation. Some of it's part of my philosophy. You can agree or disagree. And I'm just doing, like I said, my job, or what I see my job is. Kim Rivera will be recommended to move to Leuchter. That's the other thing. We had a teacher, Jason Lira, at Almond Road Preschool and Delago Preschool Center. There's 32 or 36. I think it was 32 classrooms, pre-K classrooms, where Jason Lira has been, I think, the last 12 years. And he was being cut from his position, or his position was being eliminated by somebody. So he has to come into the mix. So I had to find a spot for him. So it was matching, round peg and a round hole kind of thing. And as I told everybody that moved, I either called or met with, or called and met with multiple times. There's no joy in this. Anyway, Kim Rivera was being recommended to go to Leuchter, 4th grade. Brian Newton was a teacher at Vine High School South last year. He will be coming to Vine High School North. The reason for that is because he has his lifeguard certification and driver's ed certification. I'll mention it, Jamie. Sylvie Schifalalio, this is where a little bit my philosophy comes in. It's where Mr. Burgos and I differ for sure. Sylvie Schifalalio is a teacher at Barcy School, teaches health and phys ed, and he coaches the football team and he coaches our baseball team. But in my mind, it's not about sports, but we could argue that and we could disagree on that. The Barcy School gets out at 4:15 every day, and our practices start at 2:30. So it creates like an uneven environment in my mind, and this is just my opinion, for the classroom that person is either leaving or thinking about leaving, and then certainly on game day they're going to have to leave. And it also creates an unbalance on the athletic end. So that is why I recommended Sylvie Schifalalio to come to the high school, because he coaches 2 sports. He has his driver's ed certification and his lifeguard certification. Mike Brosh was one of the cuts from Landis School. He's our head golf coach, so it made sense for me to move him to Vine High School South in place of Brian Newton, who moved to Vine High School North for the lifeguard certification and the driver's ed certification. As we mentioned, Bob, am I allowed to mention names that weren't mentioned?
You're allowed to mention the names because they are public record on the transfer list.
Well, as I mentioned, there was
what you can't mention is whether or not the moves are
No, well, I just
performance-related,
want to go down
anything
my
like-
list and be honest with everybody.
This is
but I
on-
don't
this
want to
is on the
violate
public
anybody's
record,
rights.
yes.
Rights if I'm speaking about him out of turn. I'll just say this, that there was a phys ed teacher at Many School who was asked to go K through 5 as a teacher and was replaced by the teacher that was the Almond Road preschool teacher and the Lago preschool teacher, because that position was eliminated. So he went over there and that teacher went back to the classroom. Unfortunately, again, with Landis School closing, Brian, you asked, nice presentation, really well done. Why you? Because you were successful at Barcy for 5 years. And I was, you did a great job there, and really lucky that all of our phys ed teachers are capable. So at least that part of it made it easy, because I really feel that any one of these ladies or gentlemen could be successful at any level. So that made the moves a little bit easier on my end. But the why you was because you were there for 5 years, you were successful. I observed you, the kids loved you. So that's why, and I explained that to you yesterday.
He's addressing the board.
He's going from the middle school to the primary level, not from the high school to 4th grade. But just let's see. Linda Quay and Todd Ippolito was a team from Landis, the 2 cuts from Landis. So I thought keeping them together and bringing them over to Wallace would be beneficial to keep them together. Again, Brian.
Let's try and get through this, because we need to hear this as a board, okay?
Yep. And then the other part that I guess I should mention that I kicked around with Dr. Rossi and with Mr. Burgos and with Mr. Gaudio is that this year we sent 2 physical education teachers over to Camelot twice a week.
Yes, I went one day and Mr. Massaro went another day.
Twice a week. So I asked if we could possibly create a position that would be Camelot / preschool, because of those 36 classrooms that won't get a special next year. By the way, phys ed's the only special they have. And or a Camelot / AMSA, right, position that would be like a hybrid, where they would be like the AMSA Camelot is Cunningham position would be interesting, because it's still a high school level, high school time of day, that kind of thing. And I talked to Jamie or Mr. Burgos about it. I also talked to, it was expressed to me that people weren't interested in doing that, so I plugged another name in there to see if that would work. But that would require adding a position, and that would be what Dr. Rossi described as a cut, and somebody would end up losing their job. So at the end of the day, that's what I was left with. Again, the last one, I'm sorry, Jamie, Mr. Burgos is being asked to go to Landis School. Now, when I informed Mr. Burgos, it was a fluid conversation. So, and again, Jamie, I apologize maybe for having you too involved in my head, in my changing plans all the time and just trying to do this. But at the end of the day, I decided that when I met with Jamie and I described, I was honest, just like I'm being honest with everybody here about the coaching philosophy that I have. He says, well, then I'll coach again. And honestly, that excited me, that he would come back to coaching. But the fact is, he's not coaching anything right now. So if I play out my philosophy, I've already recommended the fall coaches, they were board approved. I already recommended the winter coaches, they were board approved. We'll post our spring coaches in September during the first week. So where can I place him if I got to place him? Because now I'm down this road where he can free up if he's successful in becoming a coach. Well, it appears that something's happening at Landis. We're eliminating 6th grade. I don't know what's going to happen down the road, but that was the place where I thought to put him that would free him up in the future if he's successful in becoming a coach once again. So that's why I did what I did with that. I hope I answered all your questions. Again, there's no joy in this.
I guess basically what happens, Donnie, with the coaching aspect of it, let's just throw, what if Mr. Bouya decided he wanted to coach golf next year?
Right.
Does that mean he's going up to the high school and you're
if he decided to, say you applied to be the golf coach and you're a teacher at the primary level, that's something I have to consider because of the time of day. I mean, it's very difficult to get done teaching at 4:15, not only for the high school students that you're coaching, but for the kids at the primary level that you're leaving. In season, at least 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to jump on a bus, and then practice time. I mean, it does come down to education also because of the practice component and the fact that the time of days are different.
The county has taught this board about T&E, thorough and efficient education, and they don't include sports in that at all. They include physical education because
Right.
that's part of the curriculum.
Absolutely.
Okay? The coaching side of it, I guess we can debate that for hours.
Oh, yeah.
We can debate that for hours.
Debate it all day, yeah.
It's if Mr. Burgos was still coaching softball, we wouldn't even be having this discussion.
Correct.
What bothers me is the Hispanic population is big.
Yep.
And I can't believe that
every
planned person.
Yeah.
He's not there. What's
Every
gonna happen
male,
at that wing? I mean,
male at the high school either coaches something or is the department head in their department. And Mr. Burgos was the one that wasn't. And we talked about that. And, we certainly debated it and disagreed.
Yeah, this is tough stuff for the board here because we understand what Dr. Rossi is doing. And Dr. Rossi is very unique in this position because he is really not tied to anybody in Vineland. He looks at certifications and, I guess, personnel number, the ID number that the employee has. He doesn't know Mr. Burgos from Don Robbins from that. And so I understand he's playing chess. And as a board member, I will speak for myself. One thing I always said, I will do my best to keep everyone employed as long as we can. Okay? I believe in being 10 steps ahead, and I already know what's going to happen next year in my mind, and I hope I'm wrong, because Mr. Burgos will be going back to the high school because those youngsters are going to be gone. It's such a tough thing here. And I don't know if, as a district, we think, well, it's not going to happen. They say it every year. Well, those days are done. It's here.
Yeah.
And now the fear is, how many heads are we going to cut? I look at Mr. Russo all the time, and he fights hard for his people. But it becomes the balancing act of what's going to happen next. What school are we going to close next? Christie didn't roll out the carpet and give us some good reviews. If he wants to cut our funding 50%, we'll be closing the district. So, I mean, there's some serious things that we're looking at here. And I look at each position as very important for what the student has to say. I hear what you say, Mrs. Paterno, 10 times over. I thank you for your emails. Your logic, we understand that. But the other side of it is, We're not going to raise taxes 20%. Even if we did, I don't know if that would help save what's coming. But I totally understand that. And but things like this, these are good ideas, and this is when I encourage people to pick up a petition and become a board member because those are some ideas that could help.
Mr. English, just one last thing I just want to address. I want to agree with the girls from the 910 building. Kim Rivera, not only does she do a lot for our students, but it is going to create an unsafe environment. I talked to Mr. Provenzano about a female guard in the locker room, and he would be able to do that, but not as consistently as we need. So that is a major concern that I have, not only because, as I mentioned, all of our health and phys ed teachers were very lucky, are terrific employees, and Kim certainly is one of them. But it's already a real difficult imbalance, and losing Kim or losing another female really creates a major safety problem. I just wanted to make sure I stated that.
No, Donnie, I thank you for being upfront because we're trying to make this work because I do believe that this is Team Vineland, and
yeah, it's not easy, man.
We heard some tough accusations tonight, and we would hope that that's not true. And if it is, it's a darn shame that it hasn't got to us a lot sooner than because I got transferred, I'm coming here and complaining, and this is what's happening. I mean, people drop things off in my mailbox every day, so I would have loved to had some of that information 6 months ago, 6 weeks ago, 6 days ago. I know we can't exchange in this dialogue. It's hard for me not having.
English, just so you know,
I would hope, and that's a damn shame.
I have emails right here proving that I went through the chain of command. I never got to you guys because these were never answered. I totally understand. And again, we don't need this debate here.
Yeah, Mr. English.
An important question that I have for Dr. Gruccio. You want to finish and then?
I just want to say that I found out about, other than the preschool thing, it was June the 10th when I got a call from Dr. Rossi saying we need to make these cuts. So it wasn't like there was months for time to reach out to you. So not that Jamie would have done that, but I think the time was also short for something to get to your level.
Okay, we move, thank you, Donnie, first of all. We will be meeting 3 times in August. Just these staff moves, Dr. Gruccio, is it worth thinking about postponing just these staff moves until, say, the first week in August? Hey, at least the people know that we are trying to. It's a double-edged sword here for us as board members. I'm asking Dr. Gruccio this, and then you can answer as well. But I know you go on the team concept. 3 more weeks, is that going to make the difference?
We don't know that. So in my mind, if we vote on this and we know everybody's employed, if something changes, just like last summer, in the next 3 weeks, we go back and put it on the August agenda and we help whoever we can.
So if someone's going to be getting transferred back, then that needs board approval to transfer somebody
The August 10th
back.
meeting, correct.
Yes.
There's professional
So it's
development.
an all or nothing plan that might get voted down
I don't think it's a-
versus possibly taking a month to just.
I don't think it's so much an all or nothing plan. Joe has put
No, I'm just using the all or nothing because
I think to make it work right now and ensure everybody is employed, yes, you have to vote on the plan the way it is. However, last summer and again this summer, if anything changes tomorrow, next week, to help any of these people who prefer something else, we will make sure we do that. We did it last summer right until the end of August, and we will do the same thing again. Anything that gives us a chance to look at the plan again and make movement that will help someone or make them happier in the position they're going to. We're certainly not just going to stop after tonight. We didn't do that last summer, we won't do it this summer. And Joe will continue to look at this every day. But I think for now, at least we're guaranteeing a job, and he looks every day. We look at this, and it could change tremendously in 3 weeks, or we could have no movement in 3 weeks, and then the third week in August we can have 4 retirements.
But
We
most
just don't
importantly, Mr.
know.
English, if I may, the principals need time to prepare. Many of them are planning to reach out to individuals tomorrow and talk about movement. And then there's vacations to consider. There's professional development being offered for people who are making a drastic change. There will be some timing issues there that you're going to disrupt building planning. I know several principals who are not eager for change, as we've heard in the past months here. They have to prepare.
So we can vote on anything, I'm saying anything except the staff. I don't anticipate that PE is going to change between now and August 10th because we don't have the proper certifications needed.
Well, it's not certification in the PE place. I'll give you an example, if I may. When one of the middle schools was told about 2 cuts, they said, okay, Rossi, cut ISS. The ISS person in that building, health and phys ed only.
So you're cutting ISS, meaning in schools, so what?
I said it's ISS, health and phys ed only is the person's cert. This is what we're
Again,
facing.
you have to understand, we're hearing some things tonight as board members that we're going to digest for the first time, and questions are going to be fired tomorrow your way from the board, because we're hearing, I can't believe that some of this stuff.
Mr. English and Mr. Duany, especially as the finance chair, what, with all due respect, do you think is going to happen when we have an $8 million shortfall? I don't know how that can be a shocking thing when you can only cut so many pencils.
No, I understand.
I don't know what we're going to do.
I've heard the term "eat your own," and is that what's going to happen? I don't think I want to believe that that's not the way we are in the Vineland Public School System. If it comes down to we have no other choice, then that's the hat that I think you're trying to wear and tell us.
And you'll have clerical moves next on August 10th. That's today's agenda, is working on the clerical moves. We cut 9 clerical positions.
All right. At this time, can I ask for a 5-minute recess, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rossi. All right, can everyone please sit down? We're back in session here. Do we have any more questions or comments on Personnel 1.1, A, B, C, and D? Seeing no questions, do I have a motion? I need a motion first, correct?
So moved.
I need a motion.
Chris made the motion.
That was a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
When do I do it?
Ms. Acosta?
Hang on one second.
Oh, yes.
Getting a feel of the board here and the folks out there that have spoke. I think personally we can vote on everything tonight except the staff placements, which I recommend we table that to the first meeting in August.
Can we table that after it's been moved?
That's when you table, after there's a motion on.
So the recommendation is to table placements
It has to be
only?
a motion. He can-
Okay.
yeah.
Motion to table,
We need a
I'll
second.
second that motion.
just the staff placements, the
So you take-
retirements, leaves, resignations, replacement hires, administrative transfers. Who else? The goal is that to get some more time to settle. I know it's not happy. Hey, look, it's a majority, so maybe I'm the only one who feels this way. But, you know, we talk about morale, we talk about working together. Maybe nothing changes. But I hear some of these people just got, had a meeting or were spoken to in the past few days.
Excuse me, point of order. I think once we motion to table something, discussion stops. Am I right?
Yes. The motion to table supersedes, so there's a motion and a second on there. Mr. Duany was simply explaining his basis for the motion, but you should take the vote on the motion to table, which supersedes the other motion. That
So we have a motion on the floor to table placements only on the personnel, which would be under 1.1A.
Is that what you're saying? 1.1A only?
Just that one item on
Just the
1.1.
one item.
Which is called placements.
Staff placements, I think it's called,
It's
isn't it?
staff placements. I have staff
I don't-
placements on my sheet.
Where's that? I didn't see.
It's on the tab.
I'm sorry.
And we have a motion and a second, so we need a roll call, please.
Ms. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Boardley,
Yes.
Ms. Cotespoti,
Yes.
Mr. Jennings,
No.
Ms. Rios,
No.
Mr. Sabrana,
Yes.
Mr. DeWinnie,
Yes.
Mr. English.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now, you have a motion pending for everything but replacements.
Right. So I do roll call.
You can do a roll call here, and board members may speak as they vote, yeah.
Ms. Acosta,
Yes.
Mr. Boardley,
Yes.
Ms. Cotespoti,
Yes.
Mr. Jennings,
Yes.
Ms. Rios,
Yes, and no to administrative transfers.
Mr. Sabrana,
Yes.
Mr. DeWinnie,
Yes.
Mr. English.
Yes, and as far as the retirements go, I'd like to wish best of luck to Diane Boucher, a 42-year employee of the district. That's pretty outstanding. Awesome. 36 years, Benita Villar, another one, outstanding. And then Mr. and Mrs. Nardi, and they're usually here, they're not here this evening, 26 and 28 years. Again, best of luck in your retirement.
If I could, I would also like to congratulate John Alex Nonemacher, who is now our new special ed supervisor. He is here with us this evening, or he was, right there. Congratulations and welcome.
Welcome. Any changes now?
Okay, recommend discussion and approval of 2.1, approval of field trip and district travel.
Do you have a motion? Oh, no, we're
What happened?
communication and, wait, are we, any questions or comments?
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
You're confusing me, Scott.
I'm sorry.
We're on 2.1 now.
2.1, questions or comments? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Are you doing one at a time?
All of them.
She-
I
does she
should,
have to
right?
do-
If I may, I think what you can do is you can do,
Group them.
Group 'em?
no, on these you can, but I can say is that you can do such as 2.1, 2.2, 2.3 discussion, but then when it comes to a vote, you can bundle it like you do with a
Okay.
regular
Yes,
meeting.
please. Thank
That's
You
fine.
follow me? So,
Good idea, Mr. DeSanto.
thank you, Mrs. Rio.
Agreed.
Okay, the only comment I want to make is on 2.3. We're going to pull bylaw 0170 and bring it back to committee to look at some of the language again before it goes forward for the second reading.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Acosta,
Yes.
Mr. Boardley,
Yes.
Ms. Cotespoti,
Yes.
Mr. Jennings,
Would it be proper for me to ask why? I mean, is there something?
It was about the video or telephone correspondence if
yes.
somebody's out, but part of the policy that's been in place that we didn't pick up on was that if it's in another location, you can't do that. And so we just need to take that out, but it should really go back to committee to take that line out, and then we could reapprove it in August.
As long as you have the capability of the Skype, it ought to be
Right,
allowed no
should be
matter what
anywhere.
building you're in. Right.
But it wasn't something we added, it was always in there, and we just picked it up tonight.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Sabrana, for bringing that to our attention.
Yes.
yes. Ms. Rios,
Yes.
Mr. Sabrana,
Yes.
Mr. DeWinnie,
Yes.
Mr. English.
Yes.
Okay, recommend discussion and approval of 3.1, approval regarding a resolution authorizing accepting a land donation from South Jersey Land and Water Trust.
Questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Move. Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Acosta,
Yes.
Mr. Boardley,
Yes.
Ms. Cotespoti,
Yes.
Mr. Jennings,
Yes.
Ms. Rios,
Yes, and thank you to Mr. Chris Jennings for keeping us informed throughout the board meetings month after month about the process. And thank you for the individuals that came to elaborate and speak tonight on behalf of this South Jersey Land and Water Trust.
Mr. Sabrana,
Yes, and thank you for the donation. It certainly sounds like there's some exciting possibilities for our students with this property.
Mr. DeWinnie,
Yes.
Mr. English.
Yes.
I would like to recommend discussion and approval of finance items 4.1 through 4.23. There are several items listed, so please take a few minutes, and if you have any questions, I would be happy to address them.
You just hit him with the questions or comments.
I'm sorry.
All the fours? All the fours?
All four.
Oh, he's here.
Mhm.
Ones that you're still looking at, so it's worded that you have to.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay,
That's
so we're
great.
okay.
Does anyone have any questions or comments after
Yes.
reviewing?
On Mr. Salerno, on the garbage bags, I've been saying this, it's not garbage bags. No, you can say that. I've been saying this for many years, that there's ways to save money in this district with the economies of scale that we have. And by breaking things out, perfect example, I'm sure you heard, we used to get paper suppliers that said, well, look, we'll give you the paper dispensers to hang in your buildings. You just buy the paper from us, but you found out it was a special cut thing that only fit there. So we got to be careful of those type of deals, and we also had this bag, paper supplies with chemicals. Break it out as much as you can. Give the people the opportunity to bid. Some of these small companies locally can't bid on this stuff because they don't have the inventory of all what we might be bidding, but if we can save $22,000 for one thing, so that bodes well, I think, for the district, because, that could save a job, a couple more of those cuts. Thank you.
Great point. Any other questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Ms. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Boardley?
Yes.
Ms. Cotespoti?
Yes.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
Ms. Rios?
Yes.
Mr. Sabrana?
Yes.
Mr. DeWinnie?
Yes.
Mr. English?
Yes. At this time, do I have any questions or comments concerning bills that incurred for the month of May 2016? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Boardley?
Yes.
Ms. Cotespoti?
Yes.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
Ms. Rios?
Yes.
Mr. Sabrana?
Yes.
Mr. DeWinnie?
Yes.
Mr. English?
Yes. Committee reports. Do we have any committee reports this evening? Ms. Cotespoti?
Our Curriculum Instruction Committee met on June 28th in Mr. Fry's conference room. First off, we discussed the Violin High School French text, purchasing of the new textbooks for all levels of French, the age and rationale for the textbooks, and the cycle for the textbook renewal. And I believe we talked about it was like a 10-year cycle, unfortunately, that we're now getting to the French textbooks. We discussed the process of researching possibly purchasing a new vehicle for the communications department, which is greatly needed, and a vision for the single stream broadcasting on-demand content. And something that's near and dear to me is Camelot, the need to expand the alternative school to grades 7 to 8, our reasons for not being able to expand, and our reasons for wanting to expand. Our next meeting is in July, the end of July.
Do we have any questions or comments?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
in regard to TV broadcasting, I'd like to recommend a continuing conversation, perhaps with the whole board, about our default sharing of content produced by our communications department.
Okay. That is in the record. Will that be done through committee, Ms. Cotespoti, then? Okay. Okay, very good. Just a quick question concerning Camelot program. I understand the contract states 70 students, correct? The current enrollment, 57. And it states in there, high school only. So, when you're thinking, we're not at full capacity, But are we paying for full capacity?
Yes.
It's our responsibility to add students, and that's
Okay.
what they're doing, so.
And to Ms. Kataspati's point there, she's very passionate, as many other board members in the past have been. Are they saying they're not interested, Camelot, in middle school students, saying 7th and 8th grade? We have X amount of slots there. Wouldn't that be the time to try it?
They are interested. However, to work with 7th and 8th graders, it's a different curriculum, so we have to meet the curriculum needs. Right now, we're using the EduSphere program with support from the high school. You heard there's phys ed teachers go over, our teacher goes over, special education helps out. So we have teachers going over. If we add that next level, then we have to bring in middle school teachers to support the curriculum. We can't do it all online. Part of the agreement was that it would be done online with support. This year, going in, we funded to high school teachers to reduce the number of students that are getting it online, to improve the programming. They would support, this is going on. They would support the middle school program. We talked about it with them, and if we were to bring in teachers to do the work, to help with the education side. So that's really what it's all about.
As well as additional help for them
And
with
additional help in the office.
administration, Right.
And then we wouldn't have to amend the contract.
Okay, so that's going to be some discussion, I guess we'll continue to entertain. And then just one other quick thing, something that we can monitor maybe through your committee. I'm very concerned about what we've done with guidance at the middle school. I understand that we've got like what do we do, like a half a person and things like,
Only at one middle school.
Only at one middle.
Who agreed that they would be comfortable
Mhm.
sharing that half a person with an elementary
Just
position.
want to make sure we can monitor that, just to make sure it's working, because we are putting more students in there at Wallace, correct?
Correct.
And it's going
It
to...
was a principal decision.
I know. It's going to, just something, if we could just keep the committee or keep the boards abreast, because if indeed, you've always said, if it's not working, you would go back. So, and again, budget cuts are dictating that as well, but it's funny how we go full circle with, we talk PE, but then we talk guidance, and, it's tough right now what's going on. So if you can just make a note of that for your meetings. And do we have any other committee reports or questions for Ms. Kataspati? Alrighty, seeing none, do we have an emergent item, the approval to accept the following funding. It's 2016 Perkins Secondary Consolidated Formula Grant in the amount of $99,155. Do I have any questions or comments? It's pretty much a no-brainer there.
No, we don't want that.
That's it. Yeah. Can I have a motion,
So
please?
moved.
Second.
And a roll call.
Ms. Acosta?
Yes.
Mr. Boardley?
Yes.
Ms. Kataspati?
Yes.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
Ms. Rios?
Yes.
Mr. Sabrana?
Yes.
Mr. DeWinnie?
Yes.
Mr. English?
It's a pleasure to approve that emergent item this evening. Yes. At this time, do we have anyone from the public that would like to address the board in general? Please limit your comments to
Another form was, I'm sorry.
5 minutes.
Another form was turned in. This
Okay.
one was an agenda item, but it's Justine Lopez. It was
Okay.
turned in later.
Okay, that's fine.
Hi, everyone. I'm Justine Lopez. I was the vice president of the class of 2016. I'm standing here today, unfortunately, because I am outraged by the fact that you guys would transfer such a hardworking and dedicated person such as Kim Rivera. Again, this is a problem to our security. There's so many male gym teachers and so very few female gym teachers. And this would pose as a security threat to our students, and I'm sure that many people will feel very uncomfortable by this, especially parents.
So I would just strongly urge you guys not to do that. Also, Ms. Rivera has been an amazing person that has benefited our school, our community, and especially me. And I want other students to have that experience as well. So I strongly encourage you guys to reconsider transferring her. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Yes.
Good evening. I'm Kim Picari, guidance counselor at Wallace Middle School. So, Mr. English, you did open the door there, talking about that.
I'm closing it.
It's open. So I've been at Wallace 9 years as a guidance counselor. I've been in the district, I believe, 19 years. I love being at the middle school. It was a change that I really like, and I easily established a rapport. I did find out that on June 23rd that I was the one that was going to, well, not be half, be transferred to Durand. So kind of like Mr. Bulio, why me? Sorry, I wrote several notes. But what I do there, I've done academic recognition nights for the students who were successful with their grades. I was co-chair of recognition night and career fair a few years. I'm an integral part of the reality fair. I think several of you have gone to the reality fair several times. I'm the one who goes into the classrooms with the students and does the career of interest, gets their salaries and everything so that they can have their careers that day. I've been the testing coordinator for 3 years. I did the testing schedule this year by myself. I think it went pretty well. I do classroom lessons. Not every guidance counselor does classroom lessons. I enjoy going into the classroom. I do group counseling, and I believe I'm the only one in my school that does group counseling. I especially work with this, it's called STARS, Students Taking Academic Responsibility. Students who aren't doing well, trying to give them strategies to do better. I do call being respectful to reward the students. Citizen of the Month. I've been a part of Renaissance, helped out with Renaissance, the positive behavior. So again, I ask, why me? I think maybe to enlighten the board, I guess, from what I understand, what I've been told and can gather, is it's the principals who were told maybe like they had 2 cuts and they had to cut a guidance counselor and make one half, whatever. So as the principals, and my question again is, why me when I've done so much? I've also started, this is the 2nd year that I was able to award scholarships to alumni from Wallace. So far, the 2 years I've given out $2,500. I started student council at Wallace this year. It's the first year since I've been there in 9 years that we've had student council. As far as Wallace, I'm kind of wondering too why there's going to be only 1.5 guidance counselors when I believe we're getting the bilingual program, and also a third of the more 6th grade students. So it'll be only 1 guidance counselor and a half. And, you know, I, again, established rapport with students. At the end of the year, I met the teacher told me about this girl who's not on a radar. She will not be on a radar because she's a good student. She's in accelerated classes. She doesn't have a behavior issue. But he told me that, you know, he has some concerns. I saw her, and she opened up. And now I won't be able to service her next year because I won't be there. You know, I've been working there. I work with the families know me, the students know me. Even the students who aren't necessarily my counselees, they come to me. A lot of people tell me that, you know, you'll do fine in elementary school, you'll like it. That's the kind of person I'm sure, you know, will work hard, just as hard there as anywhere else. But what about the students who, you know, middle school's tough, as you've said. It's a tough age. And and I love it. You know, you have to kind of like either love them or hate them, and I love them. So I kind of, again, say, why me? I wanted to make you aware of kind of, I guess, if you weren't aware. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. So I'm hoping that I can stay at Wallace as a full-time counselor and service the students and be there for them and their families. Like I said, I'm not saying anything about anybody else, but I know what I do, and I give, you know, 100%. Sometimes I'm even like there later than, you know, the teachers, because I try to see the students during the day and do my paperwork and everything when the students leave. Call parents then, at the school, so I don't have to take away from seeing the students. It's I love my job. I love the students. I think I gel with the middle school students. I've had experience through my career with all levels. And with the middle school, what I like about it is that I can also kind of have a part of implementing certain things and changing the school and making a difference in the school along with the students. So I'm just going to go through my notes real quick, make sure that I didn't miss anything. And that's about it. So hopefully with the tabling that I will get to stay as a full-time middle school student at Wallace Middle School. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Lou Russo, 154 Avis Court, and in Vineland, and I'm also the president of the Vineland Education Association. I'm here as the president of the association to, support our members, my colleagues, and our employees. I feel very badly for our people in this situation. My hands are tied because you have the legal authority to do it. But I want to remind you that I was at this podium in March and April, very adamant that you had the capacity to lessen these effects. And 5 of you voted in a way that made tonight worse. 5 of you voted in a way that made some of this happen. And had some of you listened to the other 4, some of these personnel moves might not have been necessary, because central administration and Dr. Rossi, who I make fun of all the time, I yell at all the time, and I blame him for a lot of stuff, quite frankly. He's worked tirelessly to make a personnel plan work that you folks gave him. You set a financial, numerical deadline that he had to meet, and that's what he worked very hard to do, to try to keep everyone employed. And this is the product. These types of movements are the product of what, respectfully, I'll say, was a very bad budgetary decision back in March and April. You need to raise revenue. And these are the components of what happens when you don't. There will be people that are going to leave tonight very upset. There will be people who are still upset September 1st unless we have a rash of resignations and retirements. We had it last year, as you recall, and the year before. It's our new fiscal reality, I guess. It's not most conducive for student success. There's someone who is in this situation who said, I'm an expert teacher where I am. If you move me, I'll be a mediocre teacher. If you move me to this one, I'll be a horrible teacher and I'm going to have to look for a different career. And that is something that, quite frankly, scares me. I don't want to say or hear people saying that I no longer want to work in the career. But that is where we are. Next year, as you already said, will be worse. We can't control the state of New Jersey. They're partially to blame for this situation. But I'll just remind you, forget Governor Christie's, revenue plan. His school funding plan isn't going anywhere because it's fundamentally unethical and unconstitutional. But even if the state fully funded the school funding formula, folks, we're not getting any more money. We're not. We're done. We're maxed out. The only thing we can control is the local revenue. The only way we're going to be able to keep good teachers in the positions where they have the experience is if the 9 elected members who make the hard decisions that you ran for start to raise local revenue. It's the only way it's going to happen. I also want to speak to the people who are not here tonight. In order to place everyone and to say that everyone has a job, need I remind you that there are a lot of non-tenured people that were hired in the last year and a half. Dr. Rossi can tell you the number, who will not be coming back. I give the district credit for at least telling them at hire, we don't think we can retain you. So at least they could try to prepare for that. At least they have a year or 2 under their belt, maybe a full-time certificate. Can I make one more suggestion? It's a request. As I watched all of my colleagues come up, I watched many, if not most of you, look down at your computers. I've been using computers since 1983. And I know that they're very beneficial and useful, but I also know that they are horribly impersonal, and they have really done a disservice to us as human beings in many other ways. I'm speaking to you. Can I have the dignity of your attention and not the computer? And when members of the public are coming up who are very upset about their lives and the directions of their professional lives, please have the dignity to look at them and not your computer. I would love to see the computer.
The feeling's
go
mutual
down.
here, Mr. Thank you.
I'd love to see the computer go down when people are coming up for public comment, respectfully. I do respect all of you. I know you're not doing it on purpose. You've got a lot of work up there to do. But it doesn't do anyone any good when they're up here trying to reach you to see folks playing with their computers and looking in other places. So for those 20 or 23 folks that were riffed that aren't coming back, I want to, speak to them. They're people that were young, were energetic, they came in and they might have a career, but they're not coming back. So don't forget, we're not employing everybody. One positive that I did see on the district's website, though, was the HVAC system at Vineland High School. And I saw the photograph and the school's development authority there. And I just want to remind everyone, because it doesn't often get the credit, the school's development authority was broke. The state of New Jersey froze all of our projects across the state, and they misappropriated the money for many years. Our middle school sat on the shelf for many years. And what shamed the school's development authority into action, into appropriating more money and approving projects, was a woman named Marie Bliston from Gloucester County, who's the vice president of the NJEA, the New Jersey Education Association. She put together a Healthy Schools Now coalition that we became a part of, and we've been lobbying that school's development authority. And what really moved it were the pictures of many of our schools. Trenton High School got most of the attention because of the atrocious conditions, but I took lots of pictures of our schools and our facilities and sent them in, and they were part of that report. So as we break ground potentially on that middle school, and as we pose for those photographs at Vineland High School South with that new HVAC system, don't forget that you're not there by yourselves. We helped you get there. New Jersey Education Association is the one that got that money moving and approved and appropriated. I want to remind the public, as one of you had mentioned, that the deadline for running for the school board is July the 25th. There's still time, and I would really like to see, with potentially some seats that may be vacated, I'm not sure, and I thank all of you for your service if that's the case, but we need a public in Vineland that comes out and supports the schools, who wants to support the programming, the finances necessary to do it, and the hard decisions that we need. So if you're out there, ladies and gentlemen, it's time. You are needed. All right? Democracy is not a spectator sport. Sometimes you have to play your part if you care about the schools in this city of Vineland. And last thing, Mrs. Rios, you had mentioned about the reaching out to labor unions. And I just wanted to point out that the VEA, the Vineland Education Association, we do not represent substitute teachers because of our recognition clause in the law. We are only representatives of the full-time certificated employees. So we have nothing to do with that at Insight. Now, I would like to remind the public and yourselves that we faced catastrophic substitute shortages in the last year to the likes that we had never seen. That, I hope, will be fixed in September, and I urge you to make sure it's monitored, audited, and if it solves our problem, thank you. If it doesn't, I know you'll be back finding a solution. Have a nice night.
Hi, good evening. I'm Kim Rivera. I'm the health and physical education teacher at the North Building. I know after listening tonight that there are tough decisions that everyone has to be made, and I truly understand that with budget, the budget cuts and things of that nature. But I just want you to just please reconsider the severity of what could happen in that girl's locker room. I single-handedly am in there and see what goes on day to day. The fights, go back to the police reports the last 7 years. My name is in there, breaking them up so no one's getting their head bashed in a sink or a locker room, okay? I'm the one in there. Miss Seacrest, Miss Moyer are in there. 3 phys ed teachers you have, female. Losing that one and me being transferred, That's a huge, huge safety issue. I know that you've heard it tonight, but I'm the one that's in there and I see it. So please, I just ask you to reconsider and really think of the safety concern that could happen for the VHS North building. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rivera.
My name's Kim Burgos, and I'd just like to attach on to that, because I was the 4th phys ed teacher, and I retired 5 years ago from health and phys ed, and it was hard enough when there were 4 of us females, because if one of us was out on the pool deck, the other one was in the health room, and the males couldn't come in to help because they'd lose their job, or somebody would sue somebody over whatever. We didn't have any security to help, and even if we did get on a radio to call, by the time they got there, somebody would be physically hurt. Then I'd also like to say that I'm here to support my husband. Besides his ability to translate for every one of us that were there, I'm not there now. I mean, he was a great deal of help on a day-to-day basis, whether it be with a parent phone call, parent coming in for a conference, even out in our trailer when there was a meeting going on, if there wasn't somebody else to translate, he got called there. Sometimes he got called to the office. If he's nowhere in sight, he won't be there to help anymore. As far as the coaching goes, I coached as a head coach from a middle school for more than 7 years. When an opening came open, I was transferred to the high school. Then my assistant coaches for several years came from a middle school, and it can work. It's not the best, but I don't think it's a reason to move somebody out because they're not coaching, especially when he threw his hat in the ring and said, "I'll coach, just tell me what you want me to do." Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burgos.
Am I allowed to redirect? No.
I'm sorry, I wasn't planning to talk, but I just feel like I need to.
Can I have your name, please?
Yes, Tammy Smith Halter. I was the school social worker at Wallace Middle School. I'm going to just go back a little bit. For 4 years, I was moved 3 times on the child study team. I was at Petway in Winslow. I was at Rossi for 1 year I was there. For 2 years I was at Rossi, and I was so excited because I actually was getting somewhere, finally build up relationships, still consider them, I'm part of that family. In the middle of that summer I was told, you're moving back to Petway. And that social worker is moving to your spot. Okay. Then that year, because of budgets, I got moved. I'm not saying that I don't appreciate that I got moved into a different position. I don't think anyone here is saying that. I got moved into a health and social services position. I wasn't asked. Nobody asked me if I would prefer to be there or not. You don't get asked. Honestly, I feel like I'm a number. My number is 10317. That's my employee ID number. I don't feel like I'm a person. I've been at Wallace for 2 years. And I say this humbly. I do a darn good job. And I love those kids with my whole heart. And I think it's sad when I get called down the last day of school at 1:30 in the afternoon to be told that I'm being transferred to Memorial because I don't know Spanish. Nobody asked me if I knew Spanish or not. I knew very little, but nobody asked me, first of all, and I think, isn't that discrimination? I had kids who were 8th graders who I needed to go say goodbye to. But instead, I'm sitting in the office being told that I'm being moved. My time at Wallace hasn't always been positive, but there were people, and some of them are in this room, that made my day better. I went there and I had very difficult days and did not want to come to work. It's not an easy environment to work in there. And I'm saying this knowing that a lot of things could happen to me because I say this, and I could be moved and moved and moved because I say something negative. And then last week I got a call that I'm not being moved from Wallace. I'm going to stay in that position. How much people can only be bounced around before they're tired of being bounced around. You really want to do something good for your students, stop moving people. You keep moving them and keep moving them. I understand it's to save jobs. I totally get it. I'm not saying that job, to move jobs, is easy. But I've worked with these students in 6th grade, and now they're going to be 8th graders. So now all of a sudden I can go back. I already packed up my office, so at least it's nice and clean, and I can start fresh. But I spend my whole summer working on getting ready for this coming year for my kids. If I get moved again before September, all that time that I spend on my own summertime will have been wasted, because I focus it on the school that I'm at and what the needs are that I feel that I need to make. And then today I found out that there's a possibility that I'll be at Wallace, but I might be on the child study team. I don't know if that's a rumor or not, because I wasn't called, so I am assuming that was a rumor that isn't true. But if it is true, then why wasn't I called again? I don't know why these decisions are made, and I feel like sometimes they're just made. Like I said, I feel like a number. I don't feel like a person. I have kids that I love and I spend time with and I invest in. And I wish that, I don't know most of you. I'm not from Vineland. But I don't see most, and I know all of you have other things to do, but I don't see you in my school for you to know what I do. I would love to take you around for one day and show you what happens. Just walk in our shoes. Because I'm not saying that I can only speak for me. My job is hard. I have kids that come to my office this whole year just to see me, leave notes under my door because I've made an impact. I'm not saying that for any other reason than we make a difference, but you have to leave us where we're at so we can continue to make that difference. But you keep moving us. First, I have to build relationship with students, then I have to make relationships with staff, and I have to make relationships with administration. That's not easy. I did it on the CST, and I'm doing it now, and it's not easy. If you want to know what's going on, ask the people who are doing it. I'm going wherever God sends me to go. Whatever decisions you make, I know that God is going to put me there, and I'm going to use the gifts that He's given me. And this year I'm going to this, whatever school and whatever spot I'm in, I'm going there because I know that God has a job for me to do. And every day I'm going to do my job. So just ask you just to think about what you're doing and think about the people that you are doing something with. Because they're people with faces and feelings, and they do matter.
Thank you, Ms. Halter. Do we have anyone else this evening? You know the drill, 5 minutes.
I'm only a minute, I promise. Jamie Burgos, Health and Physical Education. I just wanted to readdress what Mr. Robbins was saying, because we did speak, and we did have some issues, and I want to say thank you to Mr. English for at least saying he's never heard of this coaching thing, because it's non-existent. It started just now, and it's because of a couple people he wants to put up in different positions, the shell game that Mr. DeWindy spoke about earlier, and we addressed it candidly, because I know a lot of the people. I am highly qualified to be the head softball coach, the head baseball coach, the head football coach, the head golf coach. And I told him I'd be more than happy to do either one of those right now. You could take your football coach right now and you could tell him thank you, but no thank you. Jamie will take over. I'm the only coach who in the history, the Vineland history, over 100 years of football history, Mr. DeWindy could tell you, my freshman football team, I'm so proud of them, went undefeated. Never ever happened in history here at Vineland High School, but nobody knows about that. It's spoken in hushed tones. I don't know why. I don't know why. Maybe you know why. There are underlying principles, but nobody's going to talk about that. I was one of the first coaches who ever reached 100 wins faster than anybody in the history of Vineland High School. Nobody found that out. It wasn't until the Daily Journal, oh God, I can't remember, it's Jason. It wasn't until the editor, Jason, from the Daily Journal said, Jamie, I'd really like to interview you. For what, Jason? You're the only Hispanic head coach in the Tri-City area. You're the only head coach ever of Vineland who was Hispanic. I said, you're kidding me, come on. He goes, no, I'm not kidding you. And then when I put up my kids were so proud of me. They're like, Coach, you got to put it in the display. And I put it in the display, and it was there for a couple years, and then I got moved to the north building. I was in the south building at that time. I came up to see Mr. Belfi. He's still up at the south building. And when I got up there, all of a sudden, this locked display, that article was gone. And you guys said nobody's ever brought this to your attention because why am I going to bother you with that petty stuff? It's not really petty, is it? I have over an 800 winning percentage as a head coach. In the top 3, probably. Mr. DeShields is probably up there, too, as a head track coach. His winning percentage is pretty high, too. I've asked Mr. Robbins on numerous occasions, could you please publish a list of your top winningest coaches throughout the history of Vineland? Miss Lori Bings is his secretary. I've asked her as well. Oh, I'll tell him again. Yeah, we should put that up. It's still to today never been put up. I wonder if Vineland really wants to see those 2 names up top. Okay, I'm really sorry for taking time, but the bottom line is it is a shell game. Mr. Schifalalio, I love him. I coached his cousin. And his family, I know his family, but he could equally do the Landis job that I'm doing, that they're trying to transfer me for, and I could stay right where I am. There's no need for that. And they know that I would be more than happy to coach any sport right now, and they know I'm very highly qualified.
Thank you, Mr. Burgos.
Good evening. I wasn't planning on talking, but I'm Kate Checkley. I'm one of the health and PE teachers over at Wallace. A few things. First of all, I'm going to bat for Mr. Bullio. He teaches sex ed, which is 8th grade. That's not something easy to teach. Okay, I teach 7th grade. I do the drugs and alcohol. My counterpart that just retired did 6th grade. We made a great team. I understand that he taught at elementary and he taught at Barcy, and I know he did an awesome job because he does an awesome job for us. But again, middle school is not easy, and he has an awesome rapport with our students. Not only that, there's 2 other middle schools that are not being touched. You have Memorial and you have Rossi that are not being touched. So why? I get what Mr. Robbins mentioned, that he wants to keep the 2 that are coming from Landis together. So he's willing to keep those 2 together and ruin the other 2. I don't understand that. We had an opening. It made sense. You know, the girl that was going to be leaving Landis, yeah, she should come to us. I get that. That makes sense. And I hear she's awesome, and I can't wait to work with her. But then why do we have to lose Mr. Bullio as well? It doesn't make sense. And again, there's 2 other middle schools that have young guys in there that could be moved as well, that, and I believe have less time than Mr. Bullio, which I don't know if that matters or not. But I'm just fighting for him in the fact that he teaches sex ed, which is a big deal. It's something the kids need to learn. They feel comfortable with him. And he deserves to stay at Wallace, if that's even at all possible. And I just hope that you can think about the other 2 middle schools that are out there and maybe some other moves, or I don't know. But thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi. First, I want to say I've been watching. You're like awesome. You're really in. Miss Acosta, I was told your name was. You're into like what everybody is saying. But I want to just point that out. My name is Manya Fuller. I am a 7th grade teacher at I don't know where now. I'm at Wallace now. That's one of the reasons I came up. I was also in that line that Tammy was in. I also was as upset as her because I was in the middle of saying goodbye to my students when I was called down at about 1:45, 2 o'clock to stand in the line to be removed out the building. So I never got to say goodbye. I did, however, write down all 53 of my students' addresses, and am in the process of writing them goodbye, letters that way, since I didn't get the chance to sign yearbooks and everything that was stacked up on my desk. So I thought that was kind of not okay. Okay, it wasn't. It was just the wrong way to do things. We're professionals. I feel like I'm appreciative of the job. I have tried. This has been a very difficult year. Tried to stay as respectful as I could to my superiors. But I'm telling you right now, things like what's happened in like this past year does not make it easy. So I have just two things. One, I am on the list of being moved. I heard I was being moved to Rossi. I was text message today that the things that I left in my classroom that I didn't want to actually bring home is being placed in the lobby. So with there being no vote for me to move, and it wasn't an involuntary move, but no vote to move regardless, my stuff is sitting in the lobby, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to do at this point, especially if I'm going to Rossi to teach another subject, or not another subject, another grade level that I'm unfamiliar with, which that's up in the air. So that's one. Two, Mr. English?
Yes.
Okay, good. So in the beginning, you said that you should hope that people who had spoke previously about targeting and whatever, that this isn't the first time that they have filed a complaint. Well, I know a person very well that has filed a very detailed complaints, and I have yet to know that that person has been able to reach the board, because once you get to a certain level, it just stops. You are not allowed to speak to the board as teachers except for with positives. Can't come and speak. Okay, so I know that this person has tried several avenues to get, because that's all they wanted to be was heard, and some things to be corrected. And I know that that person put things in writing, and I'm really surprised that the board is unaware. Okay, so just two things. If we're going to be moved, and it's great that you guys are tabling and talking about it, but now you have people in limbo. And I'm in limbo, and as per the text from the secretary at Wallace, my stuff is sitting in the lobby waiting to be picked up. So at this point, I have no home. Like, I'm in between. And, I'm going to go wherever my superiors tell me to go, because that's what we're supposed to do. I'm still going to show the respect that I haven't been shown by a lot of superiors in this district. And I've been in this district for 13 years. Love my kids. I love my kids. I love my kids at Wallace. I gave dances this year that they loved. 220 tickets sold. 100, not a problem. Nothing. We took them to Great Adventures. Not a problem. I had people to give things to our kids. Not a problem. I'll go to Rossi. I'll put forth the same effort, if that's where I should choose to go. But the respect, if we're all adults and we're all supposed to be professionals, educated professionals, I have to tell you, and I'll say it, I was a cocktail waitress for 20 years, and what was dealt with this year and never dealt with once. At Taj Mahal, the casino that's on strike right now, I'm going to go picket there all day tomorrow. Never had to deal with what I've dealt with this year. Okay, just saying. So I just would like to know, where should I be placing all my stuff? I know you guys can't answer. That's sitting in the lobby of Wallace right now, because now I'm in the in-between. I actually came tonight just to hear what was going to happen, and now I have no home. I have no idea what I'm going to be teaching next year. But I love you. You look awesome. You're really into it. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Ms. Fuller.
Ronald Walker, Violin resident. First of all, I could speak on 4 teachers. I can speak on definitely. Mrs. Carfanio, great teacher. She had my son, Ronald Walker Jr., and my daughter. And I could say that she pulled the best out of all of them. all of them are honor students. My son, Jordan Walker, who just graduated with a 4-year academic scholarship at Stockton University. My daughter, Trinity, is in the top 6% of her class in all honor classes today, and on her way with a full academic scholarship to college of her choice. I want to say to Ms. McCary, who is a guidance counselor who serviced all 3 of my children, anytime that I had a problem, whether it was me coming late or me and my wife, she would take time. Ms. Fuller, who had my daughter, who pulled the best out of her, that now she's in the top honor language classes in Vineland High School, going in as a junior this year. So Mr. Boyer and Mrs. Boyer, who had my kids, if I had any problems, they were great teachers. So I'm just saying, those teachers I could speak for, and had the opportunity where I had the opportunity working with Ms. Scarpa in special ed when I was a substitute teacher's aide, fine teacher. So what I'm just saying is that in all of these, let's make sure, and I'm not up there with day-to-day operations, but let's make sure that when we're making these moves, and what I heard tonight is very disheartening. I hope that's not the fact of the matter. And I've been coming to these board meetings for 20-something years. Matter of fact, I've been coming to these board meetings about 22 years because I came the year before my son Ron Jr. even started preschool to find out how the district operated. So I believe that coming here with, it's good when I see a lot of people, but I've been in here when it was just 2 or 3 people. Every first Wednesday, second Wednesday, coming, hearing, I think I know the process just as good as you guys do. But I'm just saying, when we make these moves, let's make sure that we're making it for the best of our ability and to our students. And you know, it's just because there's relationships that go on here. I am very concerned, and I hope, and I'll meet with whoever I've served on the strategic planning committee. I've served in PTO. I've served with Miss Arena at Minis on PTO. I've served on every kind of auxiliary me and my wife can think of. I done been to budget meetings, I done served on every committee, strategic planning committee, and all of that. So I'm just saying that I hope that when we're making the moves, that we're doing the best of both. But I am concerned about a high school teacher that's been teaching 15 to 20 years in high school and may be moving down to elementary school teaching level. I am very concerned about some of this because we want to give our kids the best education. And I'm going to say education work because, like I said, all 3 of my kids were honor kids and they're doing well. So I'm not up here just for my kids, but I'm up here for future parents' kids that have to come through here. And I want them to have the same quality of teaching abilities, the same quality of professionals that my kids had and had the opportunity to be able to make a successful career in school and further careers in the future. Second of all, I'm tired of hearing about the budget. I was telling Mr. Fry, I did some research, that there are some school districts that went to Trenton that filed lawsuits because they did not agree with what the budget was or what they were getting as far as the deal they were getting from the state. I would challenge Vineland administrators, central board members, whoever in charge, to go to Trenton. Let's start filing some lawsuits, and let's stop them dictating to us what we can do. But some of us, we fight for everything else. If it was your personal family, how bad would you fight? If it was for your children, how bad would you fight? I am saying this, if it was your career or whatever, how bad would you fight? It's almost like this, how bad do we want it? Because if we want it, then we got to start picketing state. We got to get up, forget central office, let's go to the state office. Forget Plum Street, let's go down to Trenton and make a move and make our voice heard. Other districts are doing it, and I believe we can do it. How bad do we want it?
You follow that, Mr. Walker. I think that might be it for tonight. Like your shirt says, it is what it is. Whew.
It's
Do
going
we
to
have
be my
anyone
next
else?
motto when I run 2 years. How bad do I want it?
Seeing none, we're going to do our board member remarks. I will start with Ms. Acosta to my left.
Wait. Well, I just want to thank everyone for everything. First of all, let me thank everybody because I really, really do appreciate the roles that you play in our children's lives. I can't even emphasize, you know, I can go down and when I see, during graduation, seeing these kids walking up and knowing that each of you really had an important part in forming the lives of these kids and where they're going to be going. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your efforts and the time. I mean, I know that many of you, it's not just, you're there, whether you're, depending on where you are, if you're an elementary school teacher, it's not just a 9 to 4 job, or a high school teacher, you're there 7 to 2:15, whatever. You're there much, much longer. You're putting in hours, and that I certainly don't know about every single day, but I certainly do appreciate all the hard work that you do. And tonight, I have to say, I was very touched by your comments. So thank you for coming. One of the things that I always say, my decision to run was, and I wanted to be a voice. I can sit home and I can complain about what's not happening or what I want to see and why isn't this getting done, but I had to get involved because my kids matter, your kids matter, all kids matter. So, I just have to say that, one of the reasons why I know I was in the minority for, and I hate to go back to the budget, but it's very true. I knew that the budget deficit that we're facing is enormous, and it's only going to continue to grow. So we all have to do our part here. I know that central administration has been, I know that they have a difficult time trying to get these plans together, trying to figure it all out. And I don't envy their positions. Tonight was a very difficult night, but I do have to say that it's time for our community as a whole to really start, we've got to start taking a more active role in our children's education. But I hear you, we will try to do what we can. And again, I know for me, all my decisions are based on what is in the best interest of the students. But again, I just want to say that, this is our time to really, we as parents, as citizens, the only way that our city is going to be moving forward, the only way that our kids are going to have a chance for a great future is if we start investing in our schools, because you all make the difference. You all are shaping the future. So for that, I thank you. And again, I will do my very best. We're going to hopefully have a little more time in terms of the transfers to see what we can do. All right. So thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Acosta. Mr. Sobrano, please.
I want to echo Ms. Acosta's comments in regard to everyone who showed up tonight. I appreciate hearing the stories. I believe that we often have difficult decisions to make, and the more information we have, the better decisions that we can make. So I'm very grateful for that, and I hope everyone has a safe and happy summer.
Thank you, Mr. Sobrano. Ms. Rios.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. First of all, Mr. Russo, thank you for the clarification on the substitutes concerning that subject. I was not only talking about just VEA, I really wanted clarification of all the unions because I want to make sure that they're contacted whenever situations like this arise or ideas like this arise. So I thank you for that. It's funny because I hear that transfers are day-to-day operations constantly, but at the end of the day, we have to vote for them. So although they're day-to-day operations, it's really our decision as the majority to decide where we want to go with this. And I guess in our next meeting, you'll be able to see where the board goes with this. As far as looking at the computers, I do that a lot. I look at the computers because when there's something on the computer, like this massive list of transfers, as the young individual here that spoke, it's just numbers and names. So when you come up to speak at the podium, I'm looking for your name. I'm looking at what school you are at currently, why you're being transferred, who's replacing you, why they're replacing you. Is it because of a reduction? Is it because they just want to transfer? And I can't do that if I'm specifically just looking at the individual. The individual speaking, and I'm writing everything that each individual is saying, but I'm also looking at all the transfers to see, I see cut, but then I don't see cuts on the rest of the names. So is that a transfer due to cuts, or is it a transfer due to, retirements, or is it a transfer due to just basic transfers like the gym teachers? And that's how I'm able to decipher what's taking place, because the agenda just has names and transfers. It doesn't, and it says a specific here and there, but if it's not because you come out to speak, we don't know fully what's going on. And that's how we're able to, well, at least that's how I work. That's how I'm able to determine what's going on in this agenda. And I've done it for years. I figured out things that were never told to me. My responsibility is not only to sit up here and, either vote yes or no. My responsibility is to listen, to read, to watch what's going on, to ask questions, to monitor everything. At the end of the day, that's how I'm going to know whether I'm providing a yes vote or a no vote, whether I'm making an effective decision or not. If I just listen to you and look at you, you're just a number. But if I'm looking at you and you tell me my name is Brian Buglio or Jamie Burgos or Renee so-and-so, then I go through the list and I say, okay, well, this person's at this school and this person's at that school and they're being transferred here and they're being transferred there. And then I'm able to ask the administrators the questions that I'm able to ask. Because on a behind closed doors meeting, you're not going to find out the information that you find out when you come to a public meeting. So if I'm looking too much at the computer, I apologize. That's just how I find out my information. And that's how I communicate with you as an individual, and I see, who you are, what you represent, what you've done. Especially, just tonight, I've heard so much about Wallace. I was at Wallace recently. I don't know if you guys didn't see me there, but I was there. I was walking with Panis around Wallace School and with the principal. Well, she gave me to him, so I had to, But I walked with both. But the reality of it is, I was there recently. I got to see the cafeteria. I got to see how it worked. I got to talk to students. We do visit schools. We might not see you, but we do visit the schools. I mean, at least I know. I do. I take vacation days and I come to visit the schools. I'll take a whole vacation day and I'll visit half of one school. I'll visit one school for a half a day, and the other half a day I visit the other school. So I'm out there. I see what's going on, and and I'm passionate, and I thank you for everything that you have done for me. But I don't vote based on who told me what. I vote on what I think is best. But I'm there. You might not always see me, but I'm there, and I go to the activities, and I'm very grateful. And I've been sitting on this board for 8 years. For 8 years. And if you see me on my phone, I have a kid, 5 years old. I have to make sure my son is safe, just like all of you other, individuals have children and want to make sure that they're safe. Because he's at the, he stays at the sitter till he gets picked up, while I volunteer my time at the Board of Education. So, I do care, and and I know that sometimes the decisions that we make as board members, or I'm gonna speak for myself, that I make as a board member, some people might not agree with. But I try sometimes to balance my decisions based on what's best for the district, on our community, our school district, etc. And I take the time to listen. I take the time to hear out people. And sometimes I don't agree with administration, and sometimes I do. But I know that some of the decisions I make, a lot of people are not going to agree with them. And sometimes you will agree with them. But when I do things, I do it from the heart, and I do it because I care. Because I don't have to be here, but I choose to be here because I care. And I've been doing it for the past 8 years. For the past 8 years, that's a very, very long time. And I grew, I learned, and I grew, and you understand things the way they are, the way politics works, the way certain things take place. But I learn, and you become more educated. Every single year of your life, you become more educated. Through the negatives and through the positives, you become more educated. But I care and I listen, and I will do what's best for this district, whether the other 8 board members agree with me or not. All right? Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Rios. Mr. Jennings.
I have nothing for tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Boardley.
Not going to go in to reiterate too much of what's going on. First, I want to apologize to the class of 2016. I wasn't able to make graduation due to work commitments. I begged and pleaded and got told no. So I apologize for not making graduation, but I did watch it on YouTube, which was great. As far as the transfers, I went to school with one person in this room, and 3 other people in this room taught me. The one person I went to school with probably would never thought I'd be up here, but it was the influence of the other 3. So I have great respect for what all the teachers in this district do, central administration. Some of the things that were spoke about by the teachers up here and all your accolades are quite possibly one of the reasons why they want to move you. In my career, I've been moved around to pretty much every division that I can be in. Some of them I didn't want to be, but I had to go. And sometimes I grew to love it, you know, as some of the other teachers spoke around here. You kick and scream to go, and then you end up liking it. But also, I think some credentials are necessary in certain areas. So hopefully we'll be able to iron all that out and do what's ultimately in the best interest of our students, because that's who we're here to serve. So thank you for speaking, and again, class of 2016, congratulations, and again, my apologies.
Thank you, Mr. Boardley. Ms. Karaspati.
I would also like to echo what my fellow board members have said about. I'd like to thank those of you who did come out and speak tonight, those of you who came out and supported your colleagues. It was important to hear what you had to say. As Ms. Rios stated, you know, we are sitting here, and I have a bad habit of doing it. I'm looking at my computer. I am listening, but I'm also looking, I'm checking out things. And believe it, I have notes. I write down a lot of what everybody says. I type what people say. I do listen. And as Ms. Rios, I do care. That's why I'm sitting here. I don't have anybody in the school system, but I love students. And that's what I'm here for. I'm here for our students. Everyone I know, everyone up here takes the job, and I say job, as a board member very seriously. Every decision that is made isn't taken lightly. We think about it, we worry about it, we talk about it, but ultimately when we vote our own conscience and we vote our own mind. We vote what we care for. But what we care for, we're here for the students. We love our students and we want what is best for our students. I too have gotten into the schools as much as I can. I have a full-time job. I have a job that's been very gracious, letting me take my lunch hours, letting me leave early, letting me go home, go in the morning. I take my own vacation time. I try to get out because I think that's what's important. I want to see what our kids are doing. I go to as many activities. I think I have everybody beat. The activities, I try to get to everything because to me, I want to see what our students are doing and how they're performing. And just seeing their faces light up. I mean, I'm preschool liaison, and I have to tell you, I got to as many preschool graduations as I could get to this year, and just watching those little kids' faces, smiling and getting their, little diplomas, it just made my heart, skip a beat. They're our future. They're what's coming up, so I want to make sure we take care of them too. But I'm here, I care, I listen. I don't know what else to say. I respect the administration, and they have reasons for the way they want to move. Tonight, we tabled a vote. We just want to get some more information. As Mr. Boardley said, sometimes the move might be, you're good, great at where you're at. Maybe we need to put you someplace else. But However it is, we respect all of you. We care about all of you. With all that being said, I didn't mean to talk so long. Have a fun, safe summer, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Ms. Gadaspati. Mr. Duini.
It is what it is. We have a round of applause for the Durant kids who led the flag salute. I was a test to see if you were awake. They didn't lead the flag salute today. Mr. English did.
I went to Durant.
The Durant big kids.
I see.
Look, we're gonna recess into executive session, and we're gonna spend probably another 3 hours or 2 or 3 hours back there. So we don't need to defend what we do with our time, etc. You know, we're spoiled at Vineland. You know, the good old days are over. Changes are coming. The money's gonna stop. It's gonna get less, but it is what it is. And you know, I came in here tonight prepared to vote yes to the superintendent's changes, all of them. Hearing the speaker speak didn't necessarily change my mind. I may be voting yes come August. It just wanted to get time because there's still some wounds that are wide open here, and I got to feel that the majority of the board wanted to do the same. And let's listen. I know I'm not on the Christmas card list for Dr. Gruccio and Dr. Rossi. I haven't been for a few years, but I apologize.
Central
Oh, I'm
office sent
sorry.
all of you Christmas.
You stopped the personal ones a while ago. You said cookies.
Budget
too.
cut, no more.
But you know, it's not easy. Look, we've pointed out, maybe to a fault, that this is the superintendent's budget. With the Landis cuts was a trickle effect. But I supported those. I supported closing the whole school down. I mentioned that, and everybody said I was closing a school down and came out and lashed. But these are changes that are going to need to be made in the future. And I don't know when that time is. I only have a few more months, and my time is served, and I'm done. But I fear, you know, what's coming. You know, I'll pay whatever taxes you want. I'm not voting on taxes because of what I can pay. I'm voting on what the taxpayers in general, what I believe they can afford. And I want what's best for the students. And listening to the budget process about whether it's going to hurt student achievement or hurt the kids, that's part of our decision process. But the vote for placements is just tabled. We'll reconvene, and I don't know if anything's going to change, but it is what it is, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duini. Dr. Gruccio.
I just simply want to reiterate that this is not an easy process at all, and I have to thank Dr. Rossi because he has truly put in endless hours trying to do what is right and trying to ensure that no one loses a job. There are many things on this list that we're not happy about, but our first priority is to make sure you're all employed. People have families, mortgages, so on and so forth. We want to make sure everybody has a job as long as we can possibly do that. So I thank you, Dr. Rossi, for all the work you've put in. I know some of you are not happy, and as I have said several times, we will continue every day until school starts, that if we can make a change and help somebody be where they prefer to be and make the situation better, we will do that. I can't guarantee you when we come back here August 10th that anything will change. I hope it does. I hope every day we get different things, who's retiring, who's on leave, whatever. Maybe things will happen, but I can't guarantee that. So we might come back here and some of you might be happier by then, and the list may remain the same. But I will assure you that we will continue to look at it every day. We did it last year, we will do it again this year, and we will continue to try to save all jobs every year as long as we can. But I don't think that's going to last forever. So please know we're doing our very best, and we do care about how you feel. But these decisions involve a lot of time and a lot of people. I also would like to take a moment to extend our sympathies to Mrs. Braxton, who is the principal of DePalato School. She lost her father. And Sandy Myers, who is a VP at the high school, just lost her mother. So two of our employees are going through a rough time, and I just ask that you please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gruccio. A couple things real quick. Mr. Russo, you got my attention for the second time now. My fellow board members work hard, and you get the freedom of speech, but we're not one of your students up here, okay? When we speak from the heart. We do what we believe is best for the taxpayers. to say that the vote went down a certain way a couple months ago concerning a budget, that's not what the problem is here. You know what the problem is here. No, sir, that you and I, you didn't say it was part of the problem. So I heard what you said. And as far as what my fellow board members do with their computers, they listen. They can hear. We don't need to be scolded, okay? You disrespected us twice now, and you're better than that. At least I think you are, okay? I'm venting now with my freedom of speech. Zip it. Exactly, son. Yeah, that's it. Thank God. And to everyone else, we heard different things this evening, and I value myself on how people have the courage to come to the microphone. I've preached communication, I've preached collaboration, and I preached transparency. I think for the most part, the people that truly care have the communication piece down and come to the microphone. Miss Fuller, I believe. I can't believe you don't know where I live. You got to tell that person, 2432 Talladell. It's the biggest mailbox around. People put everything in there. You know, if I need, trust me, I do the best I can do when I think something's not being done properly. With the words budget and all that this evening, this is stuff that just didn't happen in February, March, or April. I'm looking at Miss Arena sitting there. You've been here for a long time, okay? You can't act like no one knew this was coming. There's negotiations. There's many of things that can also help the process out. It's a two-way street. Board members come and go. Who's going to put the popular one in? Who's not going to put? Now it comes down to, Mr. Walker said, what's best for the students? I got to tell you, this is my last July meeting. I too am not coming back, and it bothers me that I'm not, because I treat this like a job, and I believe that my line of work always says you have to fix the problem. And I don't want to say that it's hopeless here, because I think there's still enough good people here that want to do what is right. What's happening here with some of these crucial decisions, we're seeing 5-4, 5-3 type votes. And that just means that we're not getting that collaboration piece together somewhere. Tonight we heard some things that I honestly hope they aren't true. But you people are looking me in the eye and shaking your head. This is true. And I have a problem with that, because all that I have preached for 2 years of being president is falling on deaf ears. If people are afraid to come up and communicate, to collaborate, to be transparent, what's wrong with, that's so simple. I think that's what you teach in the classroom every day, if I'm correct. So, I mean, realistically, we can go round and round and say this and say that, but in a way, maybe we are all part of the solution, but in a way, we've kind of been part of the problem as well. So we can't look back and say what we could have did, but I know as a district, we can definitely say, hey, what can we do to make it better? Stay on the tracks. I remember what it was like 2.5, 3, 4 years ago. You guys didn't, you were deer in the headlights. You didn't know what was going on. And you know what, tonight, yeah, there's a list of staff placements. Do I think that we're going to be able to accomplish anything over the next 3 weeks? Maybe through the word attrition, we will be able to save some people. But Dr. Rossi made it pretty simple in our conversation day after day, as I heard complaint after complaint. My goal was to try and make sure everything was being done fair. Everyone does have a job. This other stuff I heard tonight, again, isn't it supposed to be reading, writing, and arithmetic? Okay, I think that's pretty simple, but I've heard some other things this evening that disturbed me. Will this board be the one to change it? Will the certain union or this one be able to change it? I would hope collaboratively, maybe. I think we've tried as hard as we could as a board to get it rolling, to make it better. God, I gotta believe it's a lot better than it was. I can remember some nightmare things. Dr. Gruccio, her staff, this board, previous boards have worked their asses off to make it better for each student. And you know what? I treat them as speed bumps. Speed bumps, yeah, what happens when you hit it? But what do? You grab your wheel, you don't drive off the road, you keep driving, don't you? It's gonna be all right. It's just, you gotta swallow it. I think I heard the one person speak about hearing the last day of school. That breaks my heart, because I'm going to be honest with you. I let everyone know what percent was going to fly. It's not like you didn't know months before the vote took place. It was cut and dry what percent was going to fly. So that pretty much in my mind would tell me I need to start getting everyone prepared for what's coming up down the road. And I don't know how that happens, and there's a lot going on, and Dr. Rossi's only one person in a busy office downstairs. He's done a tremendous job cleaning up a lot of things. Dr. Gruccio with a lot of things going on. Transfers and change are a tough thing for anybody to digest. I don't want to beat this dead horse too much, but what I'm trying to say is, no matter what happens, I know at least the people in here will continue to do what they do every day, because you do have the passion, what is best for the students and for yourselves, because you have too much pride. Let me tell you something, Mr. Burgess, you got my attention because you came up twice to the microphone, because you believe in what you believe in. And we don't run the day-to-day operation. So there's some people say, yeah, we have the control of the vote, but realistically, if you're the only guy that has that certification, shame on us for not having 6 or 7 that have that certification. But moving forward, the type of guy Dr. Rossi is, he's going to make sure that it's K-12. I don't think that you're going to do your job any less. As far as not being, with your credentials, my heart breaks, because I'm thinking about Hispanic coaches. The only one I had, Mr. LeBoy. We had Mr. LeBoy. He was our freshman coach. Great man, great man. You had great accomplishments. And you know what? I don't know about any of them. You know why? Because you're not banging your chest. I never thought that. I don't need to know what people are doing. You don't need, the ones that are in the trenches working, they don't say, hey, I'm the man. No. You think it's easy to sit up here? I challenge anybody to sit up here. Retiring, jump right up here. I would love to be in those seats and at that podium questioning you, because that's the way it goes. And in 6 months, I probably will be there. But with that being said, I thank the ones that did come out tonight. It's the usual people that I see month after month. I'll say something again about the Nardi family, because meeting after meeting, they didn't like everything that was going on in the district, but they were consistent. And that's a word that this district is working hard to stay consistent. Now, what's it going to take to keep it going? Hey, that's going to be up to you, like I said, man, because I might be the next Mr. Burke at the podium from Juniper Street, With that being said, guys, it's not easy what's going on, but I believe that come September, school starts, and wherever you are, I just can only hope that you do the job that you are getting paid to do, and I know the ones here will be doing it well. So with that being said, thank you. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, good night.
Executive session.